Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a good day. How's everybody doing? Let's plop that in chat, because that's always the case. Hope everybody's doing well. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Super chat guarantees you an answer, obviously. It also quite literally helps keep the light on and pay for my incredibly expensively long move coming up. Let's tweet out that we're doing stuff. Yay, we have audio levels, so that's always good. We're live. If you want to see me angry, then follow me on Twitter, I guess. Because Twitter is quite literally sometimes the stupidest place on earth. But that's okay. I try not to get too annoyed. But I can't guarantee it. Copy. Oh, bloody hell. Sorry, I'm slow today. Is the music not too loud? I can turn it down a bit. Let me know. And, oh, let me pull up some photos instead of staring at my ugly mug. No, damn it, wrong folder. Evening, guy. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, have a stare at Beolab 90's. That's better to look at than me. I had not much of anything planned for today other than hoping you guys would join me, and if I could answer any questions, I obviously will. But if we're all content, then easy peasy and good job, B&O. I've been packing most of the day, and it's fucking tedious. And it turns out that, excuse me, there is a new invention that the missus loves. Because we've been buying normal packing tape all this time. And it turns out you can buy quiet packing tape. That means that if you go like that, it barely makes any noise coming off the roll. So if you need quiet packing tape, apparently it's a thing now. Always use normal tape, but yeah, it's nowhere near as loud, and apparently the annoying sound is not there. So, for what it's worth, now you know. Evening, guy. If you feel like joining on Discord, if you know how to by now, it's more than free to do so.
I'm still working it out. It's very confusing. Well, especially on an iPad. Oh, good evening.
Well, you don't have to have a camera on. That's all right.
No, who wants to see my mug again, eh?
Well, I don't mind. Start. Forgot to do that. I really don't mind.
Brief appearance.
How have you been?
Yeah, okay. Being lazy.
I was actually speaking to somebody, and you're the perfect person to ask. If B&O were to make a small speaker, let's say for like what your 3's do, would you care if it had Mozart in it?
No.
Okay.
By Mozart, I guess you mean the sound system.
Yeah, like 28s, like or like a balance, right, with like a volume dial and sources built in. Like, would you care if a Beolab speaker had that?
No. What I would care for is to have a proper Beolab 90 streamer.
Like
But I've got
externally, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what I've been spending my lazy days on is I've been taking a shine to the old Beovox CX 100s,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just scouring eBay for getting a nice pair that's not too scuffed up or scratched.
Bloody hell, you should have told me that on the Discord in the Dutch section there was an auction that ended literally yesterday at 11, and there were some Beovoxes in there, the CX100s.
Yeah. I'm not worried about... Sorry, go ahead.
I think the total lot went for like €200, and it was a Beovox, a record player, a bunch of stuff.
Well, I've just been looking at CX100s, and I want something either in the natural aluminium, which is a bit hard to come by.
They were aluminium in the auction.
Or the white ones, but the outside's got to be pretty good, because you'll never get them back to original unless they've been kept very well. The cones and the drivers you can replace pretty easily. And what I was thinking of doing was, they've got that Create 4 system with the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
And they're about £170, I think, for the amplifier module.
Yes.
And that'll drive four speakers. So, you can drive. I think you could drive both the woofers on 2 sets of speakers and 2 tweeters.
Yes, I think.
And you need the Pi to
stream
to the DSP.
Yeah.
However, one of the things I've been sort of looking at is go and buy a fitter of a Beolab 7.1.
Yeah.
Pull it apart, get the drivers out. See if I know the larger drivers might not fit. The 4 inches might not fit, but the other 2 speakers, the tweeter, not that important. But that little mid range, that could be useful. And then you've got all the amplification in there.
That would be way more of a DIY project in that case.
Oh,
but I like your thinking.
But basically, for I say about €300 now, so a really good pair of CX100s is about 200 quid here, and there are some that are a lot less. You can get them down to 100 quid. I mean, £100, €100, whatever.
It's all the same, more or less, now with the inflation.
And a real crappy 7.1 is also about £100.
Yeah.
So for anywhere between £200 and £300, and a bit of heat gun and a bit of soldering, you can get all those ICE modules in. You've got all the power link. You might need to buy a female power link connector. You've got the power in and the power out, plus another figure 8 power in, which is £2 or £3. You might have to make a bit of a plastic frame on if you're handy with
3D printing or something.
3D printing. You could make a carcass to fit in there, and I reckon it would go.
There's actually companies now where you can just draw something up in like a CAD-like program, send it to them, and they'll print it for you.
Yeah,
which is also kind of nice.
So all this was I won't say it was coming from Mr. Roast. Is it Mr. Roast?
Yeah, I think so.
The guy, but it got my head sort of thinking. Do we can I sort of look at this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
I got the Beogram 8002, so I'm in the office right now. Office, it's the bedroom, but we do these things.
It's the same thing here. I think you tap on it and you can turn it round or something.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh well.
It's not been too good, but so anyway,
Oh yeah.
You've got the Beolab 17s. I like my little, the Oralic, which I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
bit low down, and that tracks everything else. A very nice, well-conditioned 8002, and
Oh, those are expensive now as well.
oh, and I've got two MCC2 cartridges as well, which are.
Because aren't
I've had
those
that-
the magnetic sort of driven ones, the 8002s?
Yeah, it's servo drive,
Yeah.
but it had a little underneath the tone arm assembly. There's like a little slider,
Mm-hmm.
and that had broken off. And I managed to source one probably about 6 months ago. And there's a guy called BeoTalk Repairs in the UK. Completely recapped it, put all the parts in, and yeah, it's cool beans.
Sweet. I'm jelly. Those are such nice biograms.
And it sounds pretty nice as well. I mean, I can sit here with the iPod,
Mm-hmm.
and I can bring in either Cobus or from my music server through the Oralics and listen to something. I mean, I don't have a great deal of albums, but you can just pair it off straight away. So you've almost got a remote control Beolab 8002. I mean, what I've done is I've passed it through a little, not a too cheapest, but a reasonably good preamp, and then it's gone through the real problem is getting the the analog to digital conversion, not digital to analog, but analog to digital.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll then go in through Toslink into the Oralic, because there's no way of getting an analog signal into the Oralic. But once you've got that Toslink in there, and it's converting, I think, about 96 kbs, which is enough, and it doesn't sound bad. And you can sit here doing some work or just surfing the net, and all right, you've got to get up every sort of 20 or 30 minutes to turn the bloody record over, the damn inconvenient things.
Well, it's supposed to stop blood clots and that sort of thing, so...
But you can volume control straight off the iPad.
This is quite literally why I have my Beocenter 2. The main function of it is that I can have an Essence remote connected to it, so I don't have to have an IRI on the 50s.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I would keep that Beocenter 2. All right. I think those are going to be the future collectibles.
I'm pretty much going to sell it because I don't want to faff around with converters in the US. I'll probably maybe buy it again in the US.
Okay.
But it's of that era where you had to like choose area specific power supplies. And I have sinned. Actually, yesterday on that auction, I bought the Beosound Moment. Which is now going to be my volume control. That's all it needs to do. So
I'm pretty happy with the Beogram, and I'm sort of re-picking up. Should I go and convert some CX100s? I've looked at the internals of like Beolab 4s, but they're only 35 watts per speaker, and it looks a bit of a faff to pull them apart and stick them inside a CX100 cabinet. So I'm doing a bit more investigation now as whether the 7.1s will actually house the gubbins as stereo pair rather than doing something like the Create 4, which does only one amplified unit, and then you
pull a cable,
daisy chain it off. Yeah. But actually, question. No, I just I want some really nice, compact, and I didn't say this, Bose sort of accoutrement small speakers, all right, that you can put up in surrounds. I mean, all right, the Beolab 3s, they're a bit funky shaped. The Beolab 17s or even the 4000s, they're actually quite a large speaker, really. So when you've got a lot of those all in your living room wanting to watch a movie, it's too rich for me. And I've said this before, I just want a really nice, small, compact speaker.
This is exactly why I asked you, because I was trying to convince them that, first of all, you guys bloody well need a small speaker. And one of the ifs and or buts was that apparently everything as a mission statement needs to have dual purpose now. So you can't just make normal speakers anymore. These normal speakers have to have built-in sources. Which is like, God damn it, why? Like, if my 17s are on the ceiling, right? I really don't care if they have built-in sources or if they have a volume control, or like, what am I gonna do? Get a ladder out and go like, it's not loud enough, and swipe on them? It's like, make them simple. Just make them Beolab. So like, since we're in the Atmos age, like, who the bloody fuck cares? They have built-in sources.
Well, dual purpose is this, right?
You can always do dual purpose with a cable.
Well, M3.
Yeah.
And that's what I would think would be quite an ideal surround speaker, right? Surround speaker. And it'd also look pretty good on the desk.
Yes.
Computer speakers, right? They'd sell thousands of them.
Yeah, if only it had a PowerLink port.
How many theatres have they sold to date? I don't know, a couple of thousand, let's say.
Yeah, easily.
All right, so now...
Like, even a shitty dealer's probably sold 10 of them.
Right. But multiply that by 4.
Yeah.
And everyone goes and whacks them in some sort of surround configuration, or half of them. It's a big product all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I would buy a few, at least. Because, I mean, and many people, like, it's here on the second-hand market, it seems like Beolab 3s since the theater have actually gone up, because there's literally nothing available to do height. Well, you can technically do celestials, but who the fuck wants to dig into their ceiling? I even can't, because it's all concrete, so it doesn't work. And then what else you got? Nothing. Okay.
So you got Beolab 3s. I think you could have
17s, and that's it. Yeah. Essentially.
I tell you what else would work as well, if you got a dealer who was handy with his soldering iron. But again, it's where do you put them? Is again Beolab 7s. Switch them all over to one circuit.
Yeah, I guess Steve could do that in cable wise, even if.
You just bridge the power link, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be weird though, but they're powerful, so maybe. We'll see. But again, this is like, they should just make something like this for crying out loud. Like, why are we faffing around on the second-hand market when we don't really have to if they were to just make it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all trying to solve something that they should be selling.
Yeah. And things like, S3s, I don't think they had PowerLink, did they?
No.
All right.
No, next to nothing. The smallest thing with PowerLink is a Beolab 4, I think.
Yeah, and that's, well, not great.
Highs and mid-range, and that's it. Plus, they weren't...
Yeah, but it looked a bit silly with these little pointy things stuck to the ceiling.
Yeah, but you can hang them upside down, so the point comes
down.
Yeah,
it's still pointy.
Yeah, like Willie calls them the Madonna boobs.
Yeah, I was going to say it's going to look like a ceiling full of tits hanging down.
Well, in my case, like your father or grandfather would come by and go like, "Ooh."
But make them corner fittable, which is
Yeah.
what most people would have.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. They're listening, but I don't think they're fully hearing me yet. Because I mean, if we're really going after the very high net worth individuals, like, and
Well,
I mean, they all use
they'd have embedded speakers, right?
well, they all use BeoVision products anyway. So, like, who the fuck cares if the speaker has a built-in source?
And your high net individual, and you'll experience this, I'm pretty sure, when you get to Florida. They're going to have, these big American houses. I mean, I was living out there for, up in Nevada for a couple of years working, and they gave me like a 5-bedroom house. So sort of.
That's so American.
I mean, fair enough. They're all made out. But you go into these bedrooms, and it's like, you'll need an 83-inch screen just to make it look.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many houses that we're potentially looking at buying, and you look online, and next to none have like a floor plan with them. But then you look at sometimes in the description they put the sizes of the rooms, and then the living room is, I don't know, something like 14 by 16 feet or something, and the master bedroom is like 18 by 22 feet.
Yeah,
it's like, so, bloody hell, why?
But here's the thing, right? You go back to your high worth individuals, and they're going to have custom. I mean, most normal people who can afford houses will have theatre rooms.
Yeah,
and high net worths will have well equipped theatre rooms.
Pretty much.
And they'll have all the sound absorption put in. They'll have all the hidden speakers put in. All right, maybe they'll have a couple of Beolab 90's in each corner just for showing off. But most of them will have a proper dedicated projection screen. They may have one of these things that comes out of a little, sideboard and projects upwards, the short throw ones. Or they may have something coming out through the back wall or the ceiling. But are they going to be buying TVs?
I actually have a feeling they might with the coming time of 97-inch OLEDs and stuff. And I also feel that for a lot of B&O customers, at least in my experience, and this has been all over here, including like very high-end lawyers that I know and have been to their houses, they have the space for a theater, but once you get to B&O, your living room becomes dual purpose. Because when you have 5's or 50's or 90's, they can just do it all. Like, there's no need for a dedicated room, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. They'll have the eye candy, right, and a few discrete pieces in the living room with big chandeliers and massive mantelpieces, and probably a big LED OLED on top of the fireplace.
Yeah,
you can see the types, right?
Yes.
But they'll also have a theatre room, and it'll have the embedded speakers, the amplifiers in a separate room. It'll be a projection system. It'll have Kaleidescape. It'll have speakers behind the screen. And maybe again, it's just eye candy for them. But they're not going to fill the living rooms, I don't think, with B&O to a 7.4.2 system. I just don't see them doing that.
This is partially why I want to become a pro partner there, because I am optimistic I can change people's minds on that. Because that's that's what I have, and I wouldn't go back on that at all.
But if you're sticking to a dual purpose room, which is living room, reception, that sort of stuff, then it's great to have one or two showpieces. But I think you start to look a bit of a knob if you just fill your room with it, and a bit of a tech head, and I'm sure the wife isn't going to be too happy.
That's what I always got with the old stuff. With B&O, it's not so bad, especially if they actually start making something small and that's discreet enough. Because once I got 17s, it was like, more speakers, and then they hung, and it was like a day or two, and it was like, oh, they're actually not intrusive at all, and they're quite nice. I mean, I think compared to a lot of things, B&O has a very high watt factor.
It does, but you don't want to have 2, 4, 6, 8 pairs of 17s in a normal sized living room, right? I can well understand someone get some 28s backwards and forwards, but you don't want to be hanging big stuff off the ceiling or on the corners of the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I
think most of us can get away with a 5.1 system, but I don't think we'd get away with a 7.4.2 in the present model range.
That's why I bought all the 17s. Because you can get away with 17s on the ceiling. Yeah, it's like deja vu. Like your eye line goes like, oh, I saw that already. And they're all the same. They're all aluminium and white. So they're even more inconspicuous. I mean, yeah, 17s are fantastic. I love 17s. They should really make something in that area. And God, I'll try and, I don't know, convince the right people. Like, you don't need to put fucking Mozart in everything. Like, it doesn't need all this nonsense.
And also, they don't need to be, and this is probably what they definitely won't do. They don't need to be sonically capable as, if there's for surrounds, right?
No. Beolab 18 or something like that is plenty.
I must say, I'm getting used to the 17s now. So where I had a pair of white Beolab 3s in here. They went upstairs, and I purchased another pair of white eyeballs for the 0.4s. And I got a great deal on these 17s. I think I paid about £1,400 for them, which I didn't think was too bad.
That's quite good for the UK, yeah.
Yeah, and with stands as well. So.
Oh, that's really good, because usually those start at £2,000.
Yeah. The dealer upgraded the software, so that was good. There's a couple of scratches on them, but I can live with that. If I get pissed off with them, I'll take them down to the car shop and get them sprayed up or something.
Fully customize them.
Yeah.
But I must admit, by the way, sorry, I forgot to look at the sort of proper stands with the molded in things. They're downstairs somewhere, but I've been packing.
Yeah, I'm all right for them. I just got those little rubber silicone feet.
Yeah.
And that works great. Like, it gets them off the shelf.
Because I think I either have 4 or 6 of those end caps with feet on them.
Okay. Because, you can send me a PM and make me an offer for a set.
It won't be much. I just need to check where they are. Because everything is in boxes.
What I'm more interested in is getting some broken ice frets.
I'll check for those too, because I may have an extra set of those.
I saw a pair on there's a Danish website, and I can't translate it at the moment, which is I think they were going for about €29 or something like that.
Yeah, they're not very expensive.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd say what disappointed me about those frets, the fabric ones. I pulled them out because I was going to sort of recoat them.
Yeah.
The ones I had, which are white, they're a little bit dirty and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they fused the fret onto the frame, haven't they? It's melted.
Yeah, it's a sort of weird glue they melt on. It's
not helpful.
No, but you can steam clean them.
I just put a load of vanished carpet cleaner on them and give them a very light. very light screen. They come up very white. I just hope they don't rot away.
They shouldn't. It's not anything special. It's not like you can dunk them in water. Like a friend of mine in Australia basically power washes all the, because in Australia everything's ocean on the coast, right? So
it gets red dust everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, so he repairs everything, and with the weird combo of that red dust and like sea air, you get weird corrosion that he fixes, and then the frets become super dirty, so he takes them off and power washes them. It's all fine. Yeah, so what a job power washing speaker covers.
Don't have a power washer yet.
Yeah, but I mean, you have these smaller steam things for like a suit or a tie or something, like the silly.
You
can just use that.
And
it works fine. And I mean,
no, I thought you meant those big power washers you clean your car with. Yeah.
Oh, that's what he does on like 8000 and 50's covers and like the big ones. But
I hope he takes the speakers off first.
Oh yes, of course. Evening, everybody in chat. No, yeah, it's those covers aren't that expensive. I'm not sure if your dealer can still order them as spare parts. I think they might be.
I might give that a whiz.
I don't think the broken ice thing is available, because they stopped that after a year or two. Because what happened is that if the broken ice was out in sunlight too much, it would yellow.
The color.
Yeah.
The color. But I reckon you could probably get those 3D printed pretty easily, I would have thought.
Well, there is a curve to it, so it may be harder than it looks.
Yeah. But you get those flexi mats, which you can put on the... you just got to work out the math for the curve, I guess. It'll be something dead easy.
I'll have to look if I have a set of broken ice left as well. But I know for sure I have a set of the molded upright feet left. Because they all came with it, and I didn't need any of them. Like, I just want the wall brackets and or the floor stands for like that. I mean, the floor stands are rather lovely, but they're too short for most applications.
Yeah, I'm not too cool on the rake.
Yeah.
The rake of the speakers is a bit... And they're off-center as well, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it is to keep the weight in the middle. That's why it's sort of off-center like that, because the speaker is like an off-axis triangle. So if you take the center weight, it's in the middle of the stand in the middle. So it's it's, I don't know, it's a look. I guess you get used to it. I don't even notice it anymore, but Sandeep, by the way, says that he thinks he can still order 2 colors of at his dealer.
They're probably doing the silver and the blue, aren't they?
Maybe.
There's a few of those on eBay.
Yeah, I tend to use Hi-Fi Shark, and that's just one of these websites that gets everything in one place, which is rather nice. Let's see, UK. They have 69 quid for a set of iron-colored covers for 17s, and then you have the dark 17s on floor stands for 2,250 quid. Which is indeed, Hi-Fi Shark is great but not healthy. It makes you buy way too much. Apparently there's a bunch of stuff. Apparently there's a bunch of stuff in here. Let's see. What's in Denmark on Hi-Fi Shark? In Denmark, they have a set of the broken ice ones for 250 Danish kroner. DKK to GBP. Let's see, what is that? That's 29 quid for a set of broken ice in Denmark. So maybe just send them an email. Because, I mean, postage can't be that much. I mean, it doesn't really weigh anything. You're still muted, by the way, just in case. Let's see, can I do this all in one go? For sale, I'll do that, and yeah, I'll link it to you. It's in the for sale section. You're still muted, by the way. Oh, what did I do? Yeah. God, I want to buy so many 17s when I see them. It's unhealthy. Get away. Did you mute yourself on the headphone? Yeah, it's very much an addiction prestige. It's unhealthy. Stay away from from Hi-Fi Shark if you want to keep your pocketbook full. Holy crap. That is Beolab, how many? Beolab 90 covers, but the pins are broken for 40 quid. You, it looks like you're unmuted on Discord, but you may have muted the mic. If you take them off and on the back,
Oh,
if the light is red,
between
then
iPod
it'll
and,
say it's... Ah, there you go.
Computer, and it's... and I've got the dongle in on the computer, so I think it may be swapping between the two.
Evening, Sandeep.
I was going to help you out, given that you had a silent partner.
My lips are moving and I'm saying nothing.
You need some more 17s too, I feel. You have space on your ceiling.
I may be having some ceiling work done. So I might be having new lighting put in here. So
perfect time for wiring. You only need a power cord.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, surely your electrician can wire it into the light where it sort of the light isn't affected, but it takes the permanent power of the light fixture.
Yeah, they may be making spaghetti out of my ceiling.
More 17s is more better.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Speaking of, like, what is... Since a guy is sort of in agreement with me, it's like, if you were to buy new speakers from B&O, would you care if there was a Mozart-based system in it, or would you just want speakers to be speakers?
Well, here's a question: does Mozart? Sorry, is having inbuilt sources a necessary condition of being Mozart?
Yes. So they have Deezer and all that. But let's say they for whatever reason decide to have the next Beolab 50. But it can't be what you have right now because you need a control panel on top of it and volume, and it needs to have built-in streaming and that sort of stuff. Would you buy them? Or would you rather your speaker just be a speaker that you connect to with a cable?
Well, I think we know. I don't. I'm like you. I don't care. I don't care, because why do you need every single speaker? Why do you need, like, theoretically 11 of your 7.1.4 or 12? Why do you need 12 to take out the bass? Why do you need 11 speakers each to have individual sources? You don't.
This is what I'm trying to tell them, and so, like I said, they're listening but not hearing me. But apparently, in their mission statement / prerogative, it's that everything must be dual purpose, and to be dual purpose, everything must have not only potentially power link or something of the sort, but also built-in sources, a la Balance, Beolab 28s.
Which was the first of them? Balance was the first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I said at the time, they're blurring the boundary between the sounds and the labs to an extent that I'm not sure what they'll all be called in.
Yeah.
Do I care? No.
I mean, it's fine for the Beosound range. Like, it's handy on a Beosound 2 balance level, that sort of thing. But I'm thinking, like, if they were to remake a Beolab 3, it's like they can't make it that small because where do you put all the Mozart stuff in it? Which is like, but I just want small speakers for my bloody TV setup.
Yeah, they're not going to make them.
And that's stupid. Now we have Atmos, and we're relegated to the second-hand market. Like, what the fuck?
I think they probably look at. I think they probably look at the theoretical high-end soundbar competition, right? Hello.
Mm-hmm. Evening.
Hey, hi there.
And they look at the Ambio.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get extra speakers for the Ambio?
Nope.
No, you can't. There's the new Nakamichi Dragon.
Which is marketing nonsense to a large extent.
But it's a big, expensive, another Ambio type thing. And it's got external speakers, but you can't know that they haven't made height speakers.
No, but like the way they count their speaker system is also BS, because by their counting, we have 6 subwoofers because we have 50.
Yeah, that's fine. I get that. But in terms of the additional bits of hardware, they haven't made things you can pop up in the corner. But they have
upfiring at least.
Yeah,
right.
And that's what B&O's point will be. It's like, well, we don't need to make them because we've got the upfiring. If they look at the competition, Samsung with their higher end soundbar with all the other external speakers, they don't make little things that you put up in the ceiling. Nakamichi don't. Ambio, well, it does it irrelevant anyway. So why would they do it? It's not as if they look at the market for other high end speakers and soundbars. They don't do it, so they're not going to do it. They're simply not going to do it.
It's so stupid because we need more than just front upfiring, surely. Like,
the other thing I'd say is if you go back to the last year or two, a lot of their advertised. They've been running the advert of like B&O Cinema, and their B&O Cinema, it was the Harmony and 90's, right?
Yes.
And that tells you something, right? That tells you that for at least their customers, they're probably a bit more in the dual purpose living room situation, and their view of what those customers regard as home cinema is big fancy centerpiece, big fancy left and rights, and then maybe a couple of other things. Not the full thing, right? Because what you've got in your place, you brought in a version of a home cinema room into your living room. They don't see that as what customers want anymore. I don't think so. They're not going to make small things.
So I make the Atmos then.
Yeah.
Well, they'll say they've got the upfiring speakers in the they'll say they've got the upfiring speakers in the theater itself.
I can see them saying that, but like in private I would tell them like bullshit. Like this is not enough. I'm not saying it's definitely right and it covers enough of the use cases, but I'm saying this is what I think they think, and I think they probably believe they cover sufficient of the use cases, right? Yeah.
Alicia Keys was never going to put in that room stuff up on the ceiling.
No, I understand, but like
room.
where their Harmony is, there is room for over that overhang to have some small discrete speakers as rear channels. That wouldn't be true.
They probably don't care. That's my point. I think for the customers they are been looking at for the last couple of years and going forward, more of the dual purpose living room space, showpieces, expensive showpieces, and for those smaller proportion, because it is a smaller proportion that want the full, the stuff on the ceiling, then that's a different route. And in the US, who are the Origin Acoustics will sort all that, those people, right? That's the way forward. That's what they're thinking will be. So they're not going to make threes and small. They're not going to make small stuff at the ceiling.
Yeah, especially not for that purpose, I would say, Sandeep, as you said. So when I used to have a dedicated cinema room downstairs with all the bells and whistles. We had a projector screen and all, the fancy things, what you can imagine with acoustic treatment. I never used it. So I didn't go down to the basement with my lady. So what we did, you sat in your sofa in your living room and you watch the news, whatever. Said, oh, what about a movie? And then you switch to the movie and you want to have the experience there. However, I think we are one of the few crazy folks who said, oh, I need ceiling speakers. And I doubt that most of them will have ceiling speakers. And the others, where you think they should have, they will have a dedicated cinema room downstairs somewhere. When you take a look at these famous houses in Florida and all, in LA, when you see on YouTube channel these big houses, so they always have a dedicated cinema,
but they still don't use them.
Yeah.
So
that's the house you're looking for, Michael, right?
Why bother writing this then?
Yeah.
If you're just going to have a sound bar with a big screen on the end of it, and a couple of 90's plugged in, I mean.
But that's probably enough for people they target.
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, it's all we're discussing here, isn't it? It's B&O's arrogance. I mean, you go back to 2010, they're on the knees. You get Tui Mantotti comes in, sells a whole heap of mono speakers and headphones to the kids, and now suddenly B&O want to go to the millionaires to keep the business model running.
I share the concern.
I agree with you. I don't think they're going to they can listen to us all night long. They might even find a translator that can understand me, but they're not going to do anything other than what they decided to do. And I
Damn
agree.
it, I'm going to have to learn Danish so I can cuss at them in Danish so they understand.
Yeah, there's whatever course they've set themselves on.
Or I need to hire Henrik. Like, you're coming with me to HQ and you're going to shout at them for me. But I honestly think that the whole height speaker is under-marketed, because whenever I suggested it to just about anybody, they can't turn back afterwards.
No. So my dealership, so they operate, I think, roughly 10 shops around Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all the brands you can imagine in high-end audio. So Bowmaster, Macintosh, so name it, they have everything, dedicated rooms for that. And also they have B&O, which is usually kept separate. So for the crazy things, and they do home cinemas, all those crazy things for the deep pockets they have. But when you go into the B&O department, so as I do, so as I wrote somewhere, I'm the only person they have that has ceiling speakers. So
that's what I was saying before you joined us, right? The high net worths are going to buy a traditional home theatre setup and put a few pieces of showy B&O in there. They're not going to have a B&O theatre.
There is no B&O out of the bespoke home cinema room.
I'm just talking off the shelf stuff,
Yeah.
When I moved from my downstairs dedicated cinema back to the living room setup, so and it was one of the BO Living setups in Germany I had, so one of the first ones. So where you have the BB4 screen, the BO System 3, the projector, you have the fancy BO4 cinema where you hit this button and say cinema, and then screen went down and curtains shut and this kind of stuff. I think they only sold a few of that thing. And I was one of the crazy guys who went for that, and because I want to move upstairs from my dedicated cinema room back to the living room, and I loved it, by the way. But it never kept up in technology with what we see today. So it was always outdated in the moment you installed it and paid a fortune for it. So I think they missed that boat at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the bit we don't see. I mean, they do have. They know what they sell. They know in broad terms, and you see on non-B&O on other AV forums, you can see the trend away, even from enthusiasts, basically away from doing what Mike does, which is having
the correct way
stuff everywhere. I see plenty of enthusiasts who would, in the past would have argued over small silly stuff, basically just kind of throw in the towel and just basically get a simpler setup for their living room. So I think even a lot of traditional AV dealers are selling far fewer 5.1 or 7.1 systems for people's living rooms. So the trend has moved away. So they're simply not going to make smaller height speakers. It's just not happening.
Yeah, but it's maybe I'm trying or saying it wrong, but 17s weren't explicitly meant as height speakers, right? Like, surely there's a middle ground in what you can do with a smaller design speaker. Because currently my rear speakers are 17s on the floor, and that's totally fine too.
But once they switch on the balance and what else will be switched on, as through the Mozart update, they'll be usable as surrounds, right?
Yes, but you still can't really hang anything off the wall or ceiling.
You imagine the balance just turn upside down.
Upside down balance.
With the screw underneath, just in the middle.
I mean, it looks like a Nike lamp anyway, so hang it upside down.
I still think an M3 with a Wiser module would be, they'd sell tons of them.
They'd sell, I agree, an M3, I'm with you. They don't need to be super capable. I mean, really, even if the balance was a bit more friendly, hangy type thing, it's still not cheap, a pair of them.
No.
and if you wanted like 2 pairs, you're up at 10, you're up at 8. What are you up at? 3, you're up at 6, 7 grand,
More.
So I agree with you guys. Just something simple. They'd sell Shetland.
And tiny, really tiny. I'm not talking Beolab 17s. I'm talking something that's, almost like the Akuti size, or a CX50 maybe.
But I mean, even the M3 was half the size of a Balance, all even.
Yeah.
So
I brought up Beolab 3s, right? And apparently, like I said earlier, one of the reasons that can't be a thing is because everything has to have built-in sources now, because everything must be dual purpose.
Yeah, I just find that
Which to me is like, this is so stupid, because you can make a dual purpose with a cable if you really wanted it to. Or
look at it this way. From an electronics perspective, you could make a pair of Beolab 28s with the Mozart and everything in there. And the cost of that Mozart module will be 2/5 of the square root of nothing. All right? In terms of the overall cost. And you don't equip it with a touch panel. So you've got your engine, you've got your communication system. You don't have to redesign anything. You just make it without the touch panel on there and limit the functionality, program it in.
Yeah, and then only have app control or something like that.
And then you have another little variant where you can perhaps have the touch panel in and GBA if you want it.
Yeah,
it's just programming, right?
Yeah, there is one real problem, and that is that due to spectrum overlap, you can't have the Wi-Fi antennas right next to the WiSA antennas, because they start interfering with each other.
Yeah, well, kick one out.
Yeah, so that'll have to be a choice, because this is why, on 28s and 50s and 90s it works, because apparently you need about a meter separation between the two antennas.
Is then VISA the future of technology? I would say no. I would say you go with wireless, not with VISA itself.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
If I can imagine my dream speaker, how it's going to look like. So if you were talking about, so it needs to be a very versatile speaker. So the mounting option, not talking about the shape in the moment, but somewhere like a size an M3, Beolab 3 type of whatever shape it is. So maybe not with the Beolab 3 tweeter on top of it, but maybe something that size, but it can be ceiling mounted, wall mounted, can sit on a table, can next to a computer. You can pair them with 2 other speakers, can pair them with the theater. So it needs to be very versatile and needs to be some sort of M3, Beolab 3, whatever. So I think that might be the one, at least the one I would looking for.
I would buy those in a heartbeat,
So, all you want really is something with at the most a 3-inch woofer and a 3/4 or 1-inch tweeter.
Yeah, and funny enough, I have the Beolab 4s at my ceiling speakers in the back. So I have the 50s in the front. I have 2 pairs of Beolab 3 on the floor, and I have the 4s on the ceiling because they look nice with this white covers, and there's a real ceiling mount. And it's funny enough, they're quite good. So they're doing a good job, much better than I have expected. So I bought a second pair, and now I'm looking for the next set of white covers to put them in the front. Because wife said, "Oh, they are accepted. Your Beolab 3? No, they're not. But the 4s is okay." Right?
You can buy more.
I've got away with the Beolab whites on the corners. So, but I agree. I mean, on what Sandy was saying, if you've got something like Beolab 50s or Beolab 90s, the heights are they're nice to have, but they don't really add that much, I find.
Steady. Mike's going to jump in.
With 90s, a bit less, yes. But that's because, it's 90s, right? Like, that's a slightly different league than 50s even.
I guess if your proportion of room changes, maybe I just don't see it. I've got it, but it's something which
mean, it depends also a bit on room size and where they are, because my heights are like 90 degrees off me, and then my rears are like, was it about 3.5 meters behind me?
Behind you,
Which is quite different to having your rears sort of here. So, I mean, like yesterday, Lord of the Rings was on TV, and apparently it was a proper mix. And, I mean, it was to the point where the missus was like, where are all these things coming from? She was literally
I'm not saying you don't get... Yeah, I'm not saying you don't get the spatial. You certainly do. What I'm saying is when you've got something like the 90s there, particularly when you get the low frequency stuff coming at you, you tend to notice that a lot more than the sort of spatial.
Yeah, I mean, I had 3s too, but I must say, well, Sandeep, you had 3s too until recently, but I think 17s are, in terms of power and stuff, quite a step up.
Mm-hmm.
They're a bit more in line with 50s or 90s than 3s are.
Where would you put the 17s first? Would that be your back surrounds or your left and right back, or where would you put the 17s first? Then you have to. If I have my 2 pairs of Beolab 3 in the back, if I had to took one pair off and replace it with the 17s, which one would you do? Or would you ever do it? Mixed 3s and 17s in the back?
I'm not so sure on that one. Because they sound quite different. And it depends a bit on how sensitive you are to that. They're fortunately the smaller speaker in the setup, so that it may be less obvious, but it was very obvious to me that the 28s sounded different than the 50s, and this is ultimately why I got rid of them. Because I like watching movies, and I do that mostly, and every time watching a movie, it was like, it sounds really different from behind me. And that may be partially the power. But the way I upgrade, I started as everybody, seemingly, with a 5.1 system. And then the stuff that used to be the front went to the back, and then the back got replaced, and then what was the front went to the back again. And at a sort of point in time, I thought, might as well try some 17s. And I hung them up high and was like, bloody hell, that makes a difference in terms of spaciousness. As in, I would almost say, like, instead of going from 5.1 to 7.1, go to 5.1.2. That makes...
Which is what I did,
Yeah, which makes a bigger difference in terms of effect and or noticeable envelopment, because you come from a 2D plane to a full 3D plane all of a sudden.
Yeah, much more immersive experience. Yeah. Absolutely, fully agree with that. And just recently I added then the second pair of Beolab 3 on the ground floor, and then also I added another pair of Beolab 3. I had spare ones, put it in the ceiling in front, above the front speakers, which didn't work very well with the Harmony, I have to say. And I think there's a bug somewhere in
yeah, there is.
This was really annoying, I have to say. So I really took them off the ceiling again. Yeah, my dealer has a pair of 17s incoming, and he asked me, hey, as he knows that I'm very keen on getting additional speakers. And I said, okay, let's talk.
I don't think
if you're willing. Sorry.
So having changed, I had the 3s there before as my surround rears. They're different, but they're not. I don't think you'll have the problem Mike had with the 28s, where just the sound signature is. I mean, they're just fuller.
Yeah.
They're just fuller and a lot more powerful. I wouldn't be concerned. I'd if you can grab some 17s for a reasonable price, I'd do it.
Yeah, at least maybe for my office or so. But I think when I'm following our discussion here, I think I would stick with the 4s. That I have the 3s. That I have 2 pairs of them. And then they have the same sound signature. Also, they look nice. This nice little balls. They don't have that much real estate compared to the 17s. And also the options where you can position them are, I think, much more versatile than the ones with the 17s. Because the floor stands, one sits on a sideboard. The other one, I also got this STB brackets ceiling mounts for the 3s. I also have that option.
You're so lucky you found those.
Yes, I did.
Can Can you tilt the speakers?
Even more. So with the STB brackets, you can even more. So if you take the wall brackets of the streets, you can turn them a little
bit,
with the STB brackets, it always is this one, and they get an extra one more.
Yeah, you can almost go 45 degree down.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And they are so solid. So when I received them, the package, I unpacked it, and it was really pure aluminium. Complete solid aluminium.
Oh, the STB brackets for the 3s are basically as expensive as the 3s are now.
Yeah, I got a good price. I have to say, I saw the list price. Was it 900 euros or something?
Yeah, it was extreme.
No.
I mean, I recently saw a pair in England for the Beolab 3 ceiling, and they were £750. They were still asking for them.
Sorry, for what?
For just the Beolab 3 bracket, ceiling brackets.
Yeah, so I paid 250 for the pair, and they look new. And it was all screws and all this kind of things. Everything was full set, complete, with the rubber and behind to cover the cables. Not bad, I'd say. So I need a second pair.
Their stuff is not looking. They've made a whole range of stuff for the theatre, and not cheap. Not cheap, the STB stuff. Not saying it should be, but.
So I think all that STB do is they're effectively under license from B&O anyhow.
Yeah, they are.
So, I mean, it's nice stuff that they make. There's no doubt about that.
And I think they are filling the gap that is B&O is leaving behind. So if you need some other options for placing the theater. So when I considered buying the theater, I went to the shop and we discussed the options, how you mount this if you have a 77 screen or even larger. So what do you do? So there's no wall mount from B&O. So you can do the stuff that you guys tried. So you put it the screen on the wall and you find some fancy spacing and this and you. But I think it's very tough to get really the look and feel that B&O was selling you in all these shiny pictures. They have this very little space between the screen and it's really set up in the right way. So to achieve this, I think this is a lot of work. So STB comes in with their fancy tilt something you can pull out. And I think they are closing that gap. Unfortunately, they do, I have to say. And that there is this option.
We'll try to get Gavin on at one point or another. But as I understand it, is B&O sort of makes an estimation of their of units they're potentially going to sell of whatever it is, stand options. And if it doesn't meet the minimum product run, they send it to STB basically as a sort of license thing.
So that's funny. So if we take this to the next step, what you just said, so that would mean that they do not see owners of a 77 screen type of thing that they're going to wall mount this, because that would be not the amount that they see that would be worse for B&O to produce it themselves. So that's an interesting. So is that really true that most of the guys stop at 65 in screen size?
Well, that is the prettiest.
But it can't.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It can't be. They're about to launch the 97-inch Harmony.
Yeah.
So that tells you something about screen size demand, right?
Yeah. You know what? I took my meter and went downstairs to my wall and said, "What? Imagine for a second if I would replace my Harmony with a 97 Harmony." And the good news is it would fit.
That's not good news.
No, that's bad. I know. Don't tell the wife. Yeah. So
yeah, I think you'd have to, depending on the size of room you've got. I mean, in winter, I think you'd have to buy air conditioning if you had something like a 97 in a room. My 65-inch G2 basically keeps my living room warm.
Really?
Really?
I have the same here with the 83, and even when it was the Harmony. Like, if all the windows were shut, right, like it would noticeably warm up in the room after an hour or two, and I would sit here going like, "Ooh, I'm actually kind of warm now."
I haven't noticed that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Although I was coming from the 1265, which really.
Well, that's also an oven.
If I had if I was watching like an all-day sporting event, like the final round of the Masters or something, that's on for 6 hours, there's zero way you can have the heating on in the living room, right?
So, as you had to have the older OLED panels from LG, was there, because they raised the brightness with the newer models, had this an impact on the heat that you experience? Because I have the CX panel, which is now, what is that, 5 years? 4 years old? Something like this?
They're a bit more efficient.
There's a lot of heat coming out of that one. Or maybe I'm just not experiencing it, and it does, but I do not realize it.
Well,
did it change when you move from one panel to another? Did it increase the heat?
Not really, because they've gotten more efficient over time.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, your CX is kicking out close to 200 watts of heat.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, White is watching downstairs. I need to turn it off. Fortunately, I can do it with the app.
No, yeah. If you have all the eco mode stuff off, it kicks out close to 300 watts if it's a full white scene.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends a bit on what you watch as well. Like if it's very dark something, then it's not so warm. But if you're watching something like golf or something, then it's definitely noticeable. If you watch a sports game with lots of colors.
And the 90s will whack out a fair bit of heat at the same time. So
yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
You scare me now.
the average use is something like 200 watt per 90. So for normal use cases, at least they say. So it depends also on how loud you listen. But if you like to juice them up, it goes up rapidly.
Yeah. So I was interested in what my 50s consume when they are not on standby, when they're switched on and you do your normal listening type of thing. And it was roughly 50 watts per speaker. So same for both. A little bit one or plus or minus, but around about 50 watts. So with 200 for the 90s for one speaker, not bad.
Yeah. Well, it needs to, like a lot of this is also room compensation, right? Like it's counter firing every driver that's in there just about all the time. So I mean, it's not just that you're listening to the music and all the power goes to the music. There's a lot of passive use in it. Like it's trying to eliminate all the standing waves and all the weird room sounds you have. And this is why it doesn't really matter if you place them in the corner or not. I mean, it matters maybe for Omni mode, but like, unless you have them in the middle of a room, who cares about Omni mode?
So how was then your experience with the 90s? So I saw this fantastic pictures, and I sorry to say, I hated you for the pictures. So, because that triggered me, I need to have 90s. So how was it?
Fantastic as always. It's fucking annoying because you go away and it's like, fuck, I want this in my living room. But then
that's a nice setup. I mean, those are nice coloured 90s.
Yeah. And I didn't expect to like those, honestly, because they're the gold, and everything else in the gold range I kind of hate, if not, at best, I dislike. I mean,
but the gold is minimal, isn't it?
On the 90s, yes, but on the 50s, it's like, God, I want to puke.
No, 50s. No.
I mean, I hate gold. I absolutely hate gold like a passion. But my A9, I had the anniversary edition A9.
Yeah, but that was rose gold. That was a nicer color.
It was rose gold. It's still, I hate gold. But it was, proportionately, it was like 1% of what you see. A bit like those 90s, right?
Yeah. So I mean, on the other hand, having installed them with my dealer, like I was... as you know, they're way too bloody heavy to install by yourself. So, I mean, when he told me he ordered some for the shop, I was like, I'm there. I'm going to take pictures and I want to install them just to have that under my belt. And it's like, since I'm moving now, or within 2 months, it's like, I'm actually kind of happy I don't have them. But it's only on the basis of that I'm moving, because dear God, are these things heavy. And you know in the back of your head, like, it's 137 kilos. That's a lot. But until you move them yourself, it's like, fuck.
I get used to moving mine around on the same floor. They're pretty easy to do. Where the problem is where you're taking them up and down stairs or over steps, because there's nothing to get hold of.
No.
You can get these, they're all on Amazon and stuff like that. You know, these hand grips for power tools and stuff like that. Right? It's got an M8 thread on the end of it, so you can just screw those in, take out the grommet out of the shoulder where the top crown sits on, and you can screw a couple of those in there. But that just gives you direction. It doesn't really give you that much sort of lift control. Or
They sell you the screw-in handles from B&O.
No, I bought my own.
Oh.
But when I bought my 90's, the dealer gave me a skate.
Oh, nice. That's pleasant. I mean, to put it this right, like I'm not just moving; I'm moving internationally, so stuff has to be on a boat. Like if I move down the road or to a different city in the country, or even to Germany, I wouldn't care so much because you can be in control of some of it yourself. But since it's to the US and it's going to be on a boat doing that, and people will have to handle your stuff that you don't know, that you have no idea if they're careful or not. Like, I would hate to have to move these and then you open your shipping container and one is on the side. It's like,
but isn't that the way the 90's get to the US anyway? So they put in a container?
Yes, but then it's fully insured and on them.
Okay.
But what they do with the 90's, it's a pallet. I mean, you showed out your photographs, it's a pallet. There's these really, I think there's 6 little bent brackets connected to the underneath, screwed into the pallet. And then you've got like it's a crate with a metal edge around it, and you fold there's tabs that go into an eyelet, and then you just fold them or knock them around, right?
Yes.
But inside the 90, between the 90 and the inside of the box, there's nothing. So, you know, because I'm sort of working some of this out myself. I might be moving overseas. You know, you'd be as wise to stick every duvet and pillow and cushion you can down the gaps.
Oh, these had some foam strips in roughly the middle, and it was about, I don't know, 4 inches like that by, I don't know, 16 inches long or so in the middle. So
they may have had a few issues on some of the earlier ones.
Yeah. So these had something in the middle. It still wasn't much. I wouldn't bet your life on it if it tips over, so to say, but
isn't that the same case with the 50? I've got all my 50's packaging, and you got those poles.
Yeah.
The poles, and then it sits in the foam at the bottom and the foam at the top. But there's nothing protecting it around the side.
No, the 90's are in a full wooden box.
Yeah. It's like
50's are not.
It's what would it be? 3/4 inch plywood with metal strips on all the corners. Like so you can stand on this box.
It sounds like the 50s ship, just like the Beolab 5s used to ship.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly with the same packaging
with the Ford. Yeah.
So how are you sending your stuff? How are you going to send that stuff?
Me?
You're the only one moving.
Oh yes, boats. I guess I can look into airplanes because the whole fare stuff has come down, but it's come even down harder for boats. So it's like, in many ways, it was a blessing that it took so long to move, because it was at one point it was like from here to the US it was 15 grand a shipping container, and it's now down to 1,500,
which is almost the price you had 3 years ago.
Yeah,
for a container.
And I don't even need the whole thing. I need like a quarter of a shipping container, and they just divide it up between 4 customers.
Yeah. So are you taking all your B&O stuff with you? Or just,
except for the Beosound 2. Because I got a yellow card. Please forgive me. I bought the Beosound moment. It just needs to do volume control. That's all it
Why?
needs to do.
Why? You've already got volume control.
Yeah, but for my Beogram. And I don't like faffing around with the app and that sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
I bet you'll find an old master unit in the US for $50 or something.
It'll be fine. And if it's not fine, I'll sell it. I paid so little for it, honestly. It's I could sell it like as soon as I pick it up for a profit.
So the 50s, are they going to work in the US, or you need
Yeah.
to convert that for the voltage?
Yeah, everything Beolab 12 and after is universal power supply.
Oh, good, great.
So Beolab 3s aren't included, but Beolab 12, 17, 18, 19, 20, 28s, 50s, 90s, and then Beosound 1, 2, balance level, etc. is all universal power supply. Same for theater. Same for Harmony, actually.
I'm going to be singing.
So, yeah, everything after, I want to say 2011 or so is universal power supply.
Yeah.
Because everything basically turned into a computer anyway.
So the company you're using to do your shipping,
Yeah.
have you chosen one yet?
Yes.
Can you basically tell them this is regular stuff, i.e. 95% of what you're sending, and this stuff is fragile?
Yes.
And explain to them what... Right, can you explain to them how fragile it is?
Yes.
Right, okay.
What they do
that
is
doesn't guarantee anything.
They'll usually package it up into a crate, which is, as Mickey said, it's like an eighth of a container or a quarter of a container, and they'll make a number of those, and each crate will have stuff packed in it.
Right.
So you'll have a box in a box in a box, sort of.
I mean,
no problem. You should be okay.
The captain also said, like, in Rotterdam, they're not that careful. And I've had a friend that was in the flower business, and he would sell, I don't know, close to €1.5 million worth of flowers every quarter to the UK. And these are obviously flowers in boxes, and they would just pick them up and, it's light, so we throw them, and it says fragile on it with giant... So,
that's my question.
Yeah, so you can explain it to them, but it doesn't guarantee shit.
But you have a container, don't you? So
but this is why they sell you insurance.
Yeah, but you have a container, so you put it on your own in the container itself, right? Or with the shipping company, and then it gets moved to the
but it needs to go through customs and stuff. And
that's where your biggest problem will be.
Okay.
Is when the custom officers want to have a good nosy around, and then they'll throw everything all to one side to wielding the crowbar just to see what you've got in that little package right at the back.
And then you go through that again on the US side. So, fingers crossed. I mean, it'll probably be okay, but there's no guarantee that people will be okay with fragile things. Like, and it's not just them, right? Like, if I could put it in a private jet or something, I would, but I don't have that money.
If you would have, you would buy new in the US anyway.
Yeah, I'd probably put some 90's in my private jet or something. But
over-insuring.
Yeah.
You're win-win.
This is another thing, quite literally, where I'm going to have to make a choice on how to insure this stuff. Because one of the cheapest rates is that it's 2.5% of the value you give them. So do I do it for what I paid for it, or what it would be to replace?
Replace. I think that's
in
got
the US.
Yeah, but I mean, that the insurance bill in that case is going to be $4,500 by that time. It's like, Jesus.
But when you think for a second, so my dealer had a pair of 50s, So when I visited him last time, and he showed me that both speakers were heavily damaged. So the top was really a big dent, so you need a hammer to do this. And the same for the other speaker underneath. Said, how this happened? So they had one guy in the shop who transported the one, just put it in the van, put some stripes around it, so no packaging, nothing, and transported it. And then replaced the spare parts. I think it's more than 4.5 for the 50s alone, if you want to replace the top aluminum thing. So that drives you crazy. So I think I would happily pay the 4.5, even for the 50s.
I think you have to ensure them at replacement cost. I would.
I think so too. Damn.
Well, I've moved a whole heap of my stuff all over the place with work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and house furniture and stuff like that. And I don't recall the insurance being that much. I mean, I've had like Beolab 5s, Beocenter 2, going to like Indonesia, going to Kyrgyzstan, Turkey, Africa. It's been all over the show. And it was never that expensive. I don't recognize 2.5%, that's for sure.
What was the percent rate that do you remember?
I can't. A long time ago, but I can't remember.
I mean,
did you sort it out, or did work give you the provider?
50-50. Work paid for it. I had to sort it out.
Right. Okay.
And Marsh did the insurance. I know that.
I mean, it's just that. I mean, it
don't get your house insurers to do it.
No. This is specifically shipping insurer people. Because the other company charges 3%. And it's like, it also doesn't help that I'd like to get my 50s as they are now in the US are like $48,000. It's like...
That's why you have to insure them a replacement.
Yeah.
Because your downside is huge.
Yes. I'm really not looking forward to paying that much for insurance. Because it's literally half the cost of moving them, if not more.
When you unpack at the other end, I mean, what are you going to be most nervous about? Whether the jewelry boxes or your fancy suits have got crumpled, or whether your 50s plug in and work properly.
50s?
Yeah.
Correct. So I mean, it's not the same, but I've got high net worth. I got high net worth home insurance here.
Yeah.
Simply because the way it works, if my neighbours floods my flat from above, the buildings insurance it's a combination of buildings insurance and home and contents, right? I cannot be undercovered.
Yeah.
Right? So rather than me pay £300 a year for some basic off the shelf, home and contents insurance, I pay £1,500 a year. Just because I can't have anything go wrong.
No, yeah, I understand.
There you go. There's the answer.
I need more super chat.
There's the answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fucking nerve-wracking. It wouldn't be so bad, like I said, if it was like a different city down the road, whatever. Like,
no, it's easy by comparison.
Even if I had 90s, that would be okay. It would still be a pain in the ass, but I mean, it'd be heavy for a day or two. But like, this is, especially now that 90s from a month from, not even like 9 days from now, are going to be €110,000 for the basic ones.
50s are not moving, are they?
Nope. 28s are, but 2%. Or 3%. It's like, why?
Yeah, why?
No, I've just seen something. I mean, all right, it was 2020, but it's so and it's probably changing every day or every week today. But go back a couple of years, you were paying 0.15% on a container.
That seems very low.
Oh,
I'm not disbelieving you. I'm just
1,500, let's say 1,500 quid to, a couple of thousand. It's not going to be like 7,000 or 8,000, is it? I mean, it's all what you can get it for today. But as I say, 2.5% seems very high for sea containers. I mean, imagine all that rubber dog shit coming in from China. If it's fully insured and stuff like that. I mean, insurance companies have been making a fortune.
Well, they are known to make fortunes. That's
they lose a few as well.
I mean, apparently it was worth it recently off the coast of California to start diving for the electric cars. Also for there was a bunch of Porsches on it as well, and that the carbon fiber brakes. So
and Bentleys.
Yeah, so people were diving for the brakes because the brakes are now ungettable, apparently, because supposedly a lot of the base material comes from Russia and Ukraine, and they're busy doing other things at the moment.
What are the for the time they pack up and take stuff out of your apartment? When can it drive off the other end? What's the time? 4 weeks, 6 weeks?
They have a very hard time saying that. They say on their side it's anywhere between 2 and 4. It depends a bit on when they get it, when does the boat leave, that sort of thing, right? But they say ultimately on the ingest and getting it off on the other side, they're so dependent on customs. And if they're busy, striking, whatever, that could just add anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, because some of the ports, it's been a big story, hasn't it, in the last year or so? Some of the ports have had, well, not only strikes, but I mean, they've just had just boats just sitting there because the volume of stuff coming in versus the staff.
Yeah, some colleagues of the missus went to, was it North Carolina? And they used Atlas, which is one of the largest international moving corporations. And they expected it about a month, and after 4 months, they were still waiting for their stuff.
That sounds like multiple delays then, not just at one place.
Yeah, well, this was also, what, a year ago? Maybe a year and a bit, so it was full-on Corona time. And
yeah, it won't be as bad now, but still. Yeah, so you're just not going to know, right?
Yeah, you're dependent. They can be flawless, but if customs isn't, then... Yeah.
So when you get off the plane, where are you going to go? A rental, Airbnb?
Probably, yeah.
Well, definitely, no?
Well, there's 2 ideas up in the air, as in we can leave earlier and go to family in a different state, because it'll be a while. By a while, I mean like 3 weeks or something before like the full sale is gone through. And then we go there, drop off cats, make sure they're somewhat time zone acclimatized. We just see family because might as well make somewhat of a holiday out of it. Get a car, drive down.
Where's that? Where's that in Wisconsin?
Yeah, in Illinois area.
All right.
I mean, and we'll have 3 drivers, so it's a day of driving with 3 drivers. It's very doable. And then once in Tampa, we'll probably do either a hotel or Airbnb. But once we're there, we're probably a day or 2, maybe 4 out of receiving the cash. So then we can more or less instantly start house hunting.
Oh, right. So you're going to leave before final settlement?
or on day of settlement or day after. But give or take a day or two. But if I leave on the day of or the day after, then I'll fly to Florida and meet them there.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's lots of stuff to do in the next.
Yeah, the joy of dealing with some very overenthusiastic realtors.
So they're going to be the Gordon Ramsays of house. This beautiful house with this wonderful vista, and it's like, oh God, stop it! It's just a house.
No, you should be the Gordon Ramsay back to them, going, that's not fucking good enough.
You fucking wanker.
It's not fucking good enough.
And they'll be like, what's a wanker? Yeah, and then they basically go, yeah, there'll be 20 grand then, please. I didn't do much. I just referred you to a lawyer. It'll be 20 grand for my services. Fuck off.
Yeah. They're not a particularly nice breed here in the UK either.
Well, I mean, it depends a bit on, but the common fees are so excessive.
Are they?
I mean, I've seen on the closing fees, like you easily for a lawyer to check over your contract. Apparently, the average fee is about somewhere between 4 and 6 grand, just for the lawyer. Then you pay for a house that's like $400,000. You pay your agent something like 14. The seller pays their agent about the same. So by the time you're all done, it's somewhere between 30 and 40 grand that you're paying these people, 2 of which barely do anything. They just show you around. It's like, okay.
Yes, we pay. I don't think the fees are quite so bad, but we have to pay the transaction tax here as well.
Oh, that's also in there, but that's mostly on since it's sales tax. The person selling pays that.
So we pay it as a buyer here. So for me to move to a similar size place or a slightly upsize, I'm paying the government 80 to 100 grand. That's quite a lot of money, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah. On the other hand, though, in the US, you're going to be paying your annual property tax as well.
Yeah, on a 450 grand property, it's about 5 grand, 5.5 grand a year, and that's in Florida. And apparently, Florida's cheap.
So not only do you own it, you have to rent it from the government as well.
Yeah, private property.
I didn't realize that. I mean, Guy, you've lived in the States, but my friends who live in California, when they told me the annual property tax, I was like, what?
Oh, they're lucky in many ways because they're in California. Because in
my friend still pays like $30,000 a year.
Because that's what they paid for it at the time. In California, you pay property tax on the value you paid for the house, and it doesn't adjust up or down.
Right.
So if you bought your house in the 80s in California, you're perfectly fine. And you're paying fuck all because California is special that way. But every other state indexes for current market value, like every other country does, basically, except for maybe Dubai. So it's a thing, but apparently in I was talking to family, and in Illinois, apparently it's not uncommon to pay over 10 grand a year if your house is like 400 grand or so. Which is like, fuck me, that's a lot of money.
So the property tax I pay in Germany for my house, I think so if this is comparable value that you just mentioned, is roughly 500 euros.
Yeah, we're more than that, but we're not American more. We're like double of Germany.
Yeah, which is still okay. So we are changing in a moment anyway. But the numbers you mentioned,
I must say that, but On the other hand, like Florida is about the half of Illinois, about 50% of Illinois, but there's no income tax at all, like other than federal, which kind of makes up for the whole thing.
Yeah, you have to take everything into account.
I mean, also the way it works in the US is property tax pays for all the schooling and stuff. That's not like a separate tax in income and stuff, which you're kind of screwed over if you don't have kids because you're paying for everybody else's kids.
Well, I guess we sort of have property tax here in the UK. It's just that they give you 3 coloured dustbins as part of the deal.
And come and collect them once every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'll come and find them after we've lost them.
Yeah. Well, depending, I'm not entirely sure how that goes, but when my parents lived in the States, apparently around the Chicago area, that was all private, and then you can choose your garbage collection plan. Like, do you want it twice a week, once a week, and do you want them to pick it up from the curbside, or do you want them to walk up to drive and come and collect it there? And there's different rates for all that, and you can customize however you want.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. But it depends a bit on zoning, and the whole zoning shit is a mess, and just about every other suburb has an HOA, which is it's like, why?
What's an HOA?
Homeowners Association, which you need to pay fees for. And they like mow the common area, which is like the grass next to the sidewalk. It's like, I could do that on my side, but then it's not uniform and it disturbs the look of the suburb. It's like, fuck off. And then you have bylaws, and like you can't have your bins out after X amount of time in the evening, or before X amount of time in the evening of the day before. And
yeah, America has plenty of parochial parts to its kind of a culture and governance.
Apparently, something like the majority of the foreclosures in the US are started by the homeowners associations.
What, kicking people out?
Yes, because they forgot to pay like their homeowners association fee.
I think I stay where I am. So,
well, there are places, obviously, where you can buy without all that nonsense. It's just, to find them is like, there's not like a map where it says, okay, here you're in the clear.
Yeah, it's going to take you a while to find somewhere, though.
Yeah, and sometimes the fees are, I don't know, I've seen them as low as $3 a month. It's like, okay, like, that's fine. But then others are up, I've seen them up to like $250 a month, where they actually will come and mow your normal lawn and clean your pool and all that sort of stuff. Just in case your neighbors look over to your pool and your pool is dirty and they don't like that, so they have somebody that makes sure all the pools are clean.
Well, if they pull the gators out for you, that'll be fine.
But any sort of communal, I mean, I'm in a old mansion block, right? Mm-hmm. It's communal, and you know, it's a devil's bargain, right? I don't have to do anything, and I put money into the pot, but you don't have any control over it. Really, you have limited control unless I want to go and sit on the board and get involved, and then you're a bit of a price taker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I pay $6,000 a year, and the bigger apartments pay $10,000 a year. And is it value for? You know, if you examine it, is it value? It's a bit of it's annoying, right? It's not really value for money. If when you kind of drill down,
if they take out all the outside hassle of like painting and that sort of bullshit, or cleaning common areas, because I mean, you're only one shitty neighbor away from like that moves in and keeps all their cardboard boxes outside of their parking lot, right? And then it rains, and then they go, fuck it. and then it's ruined for everybody.
Yeah, so there's upsides, downsides, right? I mean, we grumble, particularly.
But there's always one who thinks he owns it all, right?
We've got a lady, one of the residents, who has been on the board for a while. She tells you off like she's your school mistress.
Yeah.
It'll bring back bad memories. It really does.
Oh, we've got them here. You know, you're outside and you're cleaning your car. Oh, you're not allowed to clean your car here. So what? Fuck off.
Yeah, I just tend to ignore them now.
Yeah. My grandfather-in-law was telling me the story that they lived close where they live now, and apparently there was a HOA, and there were bylaws in that past 9 p.m. you can't be parked outside in your driveway anymore. You have to be parked in your garage because the car is unsightly.
That's what I mean. There's a lot of very parochial kind of like getting involved in your business type stuff.
Yeah. It's like, God, I don't want to live with these HOA Nazis. It's annoying. Go away.
Well, but you can avoid that kind of thing then.
I'm going to try, for sure. But, I mean, it seems to be like you said, it's a blessing and a curse. If you're in a sort of HOA with normal people, it's okay. But I don't know. I guess I'll have to ask neighbors and stuff like that. Like, and a lot of these things now, because of the internet, actually have bulletin boards, and people that live there or used to live there post stuff about it. So you can find stuff about it.
Oh, well, so we've got our block has got a Facebook group, but the lady who sits on the board who runs the Facebook group, she'll shut down any negative chat on there. She'll only allow like her banana.
That's housekeeping, I would say.
Say again?
That's housekeeping. Good housekeeping. Yeah.
Our sewer pipe burst and it smelled like roses.
I share with 80 other owners, and so I own this property since 20 years. So, and there's always that one guy. So there's always one guy that do something which the other 79 people do not want. So sometimes move out, move in, then there's that guy. So it's annoying to say. So now I have my own house here. So, but on the other hand, I have to care of everything on my own. So there's no one you just give money and then do it. You have to organize everything on your own. So I'm not sure what's better. Is this one guy you are always, or to take care on your own completely?
Yeah, it's, we'll see. I mean, the one thing I really don't want is the US style gated community.
That's what I'm in. That's what I'm in. I'm in a gated thing.
Yeah, but do you have a dude at the gate where you literally have to call up the front gate, right? Like, hey, I'm getting visitors over. They're okay. Let them through.
No.
Come on, that's a bit much. And so many of these gated communities also have where you have to swipe it past for the gate to open. And it's like, oh, okay, go away, please. It's like, I don't need to be that much of a hermit. I'll be a hermit in my own house, but like, where you're at the point where you have to like take action for people to get to you is annoying.
Yeah, that's annoying.
So, yeah. I mean, it'll probably have its pros and cons again, as in supposed safety or something, but
it's going to take you 3 to 6 months to find somewhere.
No.
Less?
I don't think so, yeah. I mean, especially in the US, buying something goes really, really fucking fast compared to here.
There's plenty of empty houses out there right now.
Are there?
Well, in general there are, because so many people have second, third, and fourth homes that they just have to move because of work, right? And I can find at least 10 houses now that are up on the market, and they're just empty. Nobody lives there.
But there's a lot of talk about subprime again, isn't there? So
yes.
It looks like it's tilting that way once more.
I mean, that too. and rates have skyrocketed. So for mortgages, but I mean, if the house is already empty, you can, if you make an offer and accept it, you can basically have it in about 4 to 7 days and move in.
Yeah.
I mean, that can
Are you
go
gonna
really, really quickly. Like here, the average time of signing to sale, I think, in this country is 2.5 months.
Have you given any thought to not buying for a year?
Yes. And I don't want to do that.
And why would you do? Sorry, why would you do that?
I won't.
Okay, my real question is, and it's tricky with property, right? It's not like stocks, but you could take a view that
it might be cheaper, a lot cheaper in 12 months' time, right?
your $1 million house will be $800,000 in 12 months.
As I understand it, and I'm not sure if it's 6 or 9 months, but if you sell your property that you do not own under an LLC, as in it's a private home, and then you do not use that money for a new home, they take the whole amount as capital gains. If you sell your home and then use any of it, the first 250 grand of capital gains is tax-free.
Yeah.
So if you lose 200,000,
sorry, what?
you don't. If you lose 200,000 on the value, you
You
lose
get money back.
200,000. No, you just get a tax credit, don't you?
Yeah. But I don't think Florida will go that way because, I mean, Florida actually is one of the states where they're giving, what you call it? They tax people too much. So they're giving everybody money back because they're like, we have such a surplus in our budget that we're giving people money back. I mean, it's...
Yeah, so
they need Sadiq Khan there, don't they? You'll find ways of spending it.
So I
Sure.
don't quite know how much, obviously, like in California and bits of California, you know, the real estate prices have really went through the roof, and so they've got some space to come down. I don't quite know what it's like in
Florida went through the roof, but it has, to put it this way, the properties that were 500 grand 9 months to a year ago are now 425 or so. But if you look at the value in 2017, they were like 350, 375-ish.
So you're halfway-ish, roughly. You're roughly halfway. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's like, does it really... I mean,
There's no point waiting.
Yeah, and there's still more people coming to Florida.
Yeah, there's no point waiting.
And, I mean, Florida is one of these states where people will forever flock to, if not for tax purposes, on their own.
Yeah, it's all the Californians getting away from the Democrats to move to Florida to become Democrats.
Well, I'll just say enough yeehaw and make sure they stay there.
Well,
like my friends in California, their houses they bought for like $1.5 million. You know, they were being offered 3.5 like 18 months ago by realtors. And obviously, they had no interest in moving. And they've got quite a lot of space, and it's come off a bit. But there's, you know, if the shit hits the fan, there's quite a long way for those to fall.
Well, California has the other problem of that it's just bloody impossible to build anything new due to regulation, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have a vacant lot, one of the first things you have to do is terrain research, and then you have to research what kind of gerbil walks there, and or how you can potentially build around the gerbil nest, and or rat nest, and or snake nest, and these ground research things take 9 months because you need to see 3 seasons. And there may be some critter that's endangered that may walk around there. And it's like, good God. So by the time you own a lot and start building, you're 2.5 years in often. Because the only thing that you can really buy is something that exists already. And that's a limited supply, obviously.
Hey, welcome to London.
Yeah, same here. I mean, this is a relatively new build and it's from the bloody 70s. I mean, if I go like literally 5-minute walk over there, the newest house is probably from like the 1880s. So yeah, I mean, but there's enough of an influx in Florida that I'm not too worried. The state in general is doing really well. It will come down potentially a bit.
Well, it sounds like it's come down a bit already anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
But I also take the view that if you're not gonna potentially move for another 10 years, like, does it really matter?
Probably not, no. Yeah, it's just a question of if things are going to fall a modest amount, like 15%, 20%. 20% depends on what you're buying. 20% of 3 million... If you lose 600 grand, you feel like a bit of an idiot. 20%, like 800,000, you don't care so much, right?
A lot less, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
But
that's your 90s, Sandy. That's the 90s.
It's a few 90s.
I mean, I'm already... In many ways, this sort of... Because the idea was to move right after Christmas, and that for several reasons that didn't continue. And actually, they've been a sort of blessing in disguise, because we've, in the end, gotten less for this. But on the reverse side, the transportation cost has gone down massively. Instead of getting 95 USD for your euro, now you get $1.07.
Yeah.
For your euro, so that's a massive 10% shift.
Yeah.
Like our house prices versus the initial sort of potential offer is down like 3-4%, but the house prices there have gone down by nearly 10%.
Yeah, your big thing is the exchange rate, right?
Yeah.
Exchange rate moving at 10% back in your favour is a big deal.
Yeah, not just that, but also the house price there of the houses we were literally looking at the time were like around 500 or so. They're now between, depending on where they are, between 400 and at the high end 450.
Are you talking dollars?
Yeah.
Dollars, yeah. So yeah.
I mean, they've come down about 10% in dollars.
Again, yeah, your 90s.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've gone up 10%.
Damn.
Yeah,
I
but
knew that
10%
was
of 100, not 10% of 500, fortunately. Though I'm pretty sure if you make certain dealers an offer, you can get decent prices for them still. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I was offered one pair just recently when I visited a shop. So they had this nice pair, this grey ones with the walnut. Still, no. From their point of view, was a nice discount coming from the list price. But when they, I think, purchased the one for the shop, was it 2 years ago or something? The price was a different one. It was, the discount is not that huge anymore. And
yeah, but then you say, give me 20% off the list price you paid for it at the time.
That would be reasonable, actually.
Yeah.
And then that's the way, by the way, I got my 50s. That was the calculation of my 50s I got.
I mean,
more or less.
I'm not sure dealers explicitly tell you, or if B&O tells you, but X Demo still gets 3-year warranty because B&O doesn't see those as used speakers.
The invoice I got is just that, like, new.
Yeah.
For my 50s.
Which is, I mean, if you find a dealer that has 90s for like 3+ years in the shop, make him an offer.
Can you extend these warranties or no?
No,
you can't.
You could originally with the Beolab 90s. I'd have to find the email. I've got it here. But when I got mine, I asked about extended warranty, and they were asking for 9%
Oof.
a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Where did you get yours, in the UK?
Yeah.
In London? No, not in London.
No, in Winchester.
Manchester.
I guess you didn't sign for that one, for the
No,
warranty.
that's why I was asking Willie. I mean, mine are some of the oldest 90s in the country. So I got them, when they were sort of very low 50s, when they came out in 2016. And I was asking Willie, do you? And I've asked this consistently because I go through a number of dealers because I move around so much. But either they're not telling me straight, or there's very, very little, sort of, touch wood, can go wrong with the 90s so far.
It is very little. I talked to quite a lot of dealers, and I've asked this too, and especially when I was seriously thinking about it, and there's an occasional thing that goes wrong, but it's more so chance or transport or somebody being stupid, right? Like it's really cold, we've aired the room out, we want some music, but we want it at max volume, that sort of stuff. Like no mechanical compassion, but in terms of actual failures, no.
But it's like Beolab 50s and Beolab 5s, and Beolab 3s. I've had a module go off each of those.
Yeah, me too.
Over the last 20 years, it wasn't exactly painful, but the question's more: can you get the parts?
Yes,
I think that might be the challenge in the long run for the 50s and the 90s. So that 10 years from now.
Yeah. Well, they have to keep by law, don't they? At least 10 years worth of stock once they've done end of life.
Is that right?
Well, yeah.
Comes with the hope that B&O is
it's a Europe-wide thing on everything, I think.
Yeah. I have two installer friends, and they both said you can get the parts, because one installer friend, I think, had to fix some 50s because they had lightning strike. And obviously no lightning blocker thing in between. And he said it's really easy to fix. It's way better than 5s. The way it's designed is also much better. And so one of the big things with the 5s was that on the PCB, the chassis, one of the issues was that with the amount of power and the tech at the time, the big caps had to be super glued in place to stay on the board. And after a while, that just fails. And depending on use, it's anywhere between 10 to 15 years on average. And they said with the smaller electronics in the 50s, that sort of stuff is not really likely. It's all tied down. I recently had what was it? I think it was a 500 watt ice power amp in my hands, and it's literally on top of the caps you have a metal bar that all holds it down to the PCB just in case. They've improved on Beolab 5 era stuff. I mean, is this a guarantee? Yeah. No, but it's
more comforting.
Yeah, 90s are. I mean, you can destroy them, but then you have to hoon with them. And I even think for your room, since it's not enormous, just by the fact you tuned them, you won't get to their full extension on drivers, which will probably do the most damage over time.
Well, yeah. You'd go deaf before.
Well, not just that, right? It'll go to max volume for the room. And if your living room versus something that's, I don't know, 150 square meters and open, that's a big difference in extension of those drivers.
No, well, it's like on the Discord, we're having I think we're chatting about the connecting up third-party streamers and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And trying to get the sound levels. I can remember with the Aurelix, what you do there is you put it to a fixed 100% output on the DAC, let the Beolab 90's do the volume control.
Yeah.
But that was never sorted out properly until recent firmware updates. So I still don't know if the USB works. USB volume control works. I've never tried that, which is why I went for a DAC. But there was a time where you could switch on your music streamer. It would go in and trigger on various thresholds, but then the app wouldn't recognize that it's being triggered, and it would come straight in at 90.
Ooh.
And you jumped out of your seat pretty quickly when that happened.
That was supposed to be on the last update, wasn't it, for the 50s and 90s?
It's been out for a year or plus.
Yeah.
But it was something that was very, very sticky on the app in the 90s with a third party signal coming in.
I mean, in general, that's also a way to destroy a speaker. Just from cold start, max volume. I mean, it probably won't destroy 50s and or 90s that easily, but it's just like the rubber is cold. There's no heat in it whatsoever. All the little things, right? It's like an immense power draw all of a sudden.
I'm not worried. So I don't know what volume, Guy, when you listen to music.
No, but cold start to 90s.
No, I get that, but I'm not worried about. I'm not really worried about my 50s. I don't drive them especially hard. Like with music, with 100% fixed volume coming out of my streamer DAC, on the Beolab 50s, I probably only have them at 45 to 55.
Yeah, I come in at typically about 38, and the loudest I really push into is probably no more than 48.
Yeah.
Right. Even with the theatre and listening to a movie, with all that going on there, with the Eclipse, 42, 43 would have been enough. With the theatre, you're barely pushing above 40 before it becomes too loud for the room.
Oh, I was telling Mark, I put a Ultra HD Blu-ray in, so not like a broadcast thing.
And it comes in loud, right?
And it came in loud. It's so interesting, right? Because I was flipping around, I had flu, and I was watching movies, and something's on streaming platforms, and I'm up at 52, put in a Blu-ray. I was watching the Blu-ray of Ford versus Ferrari or whatever it's called, and then I had to have the whole thing at like 38. So I don't think I drive my 50s that hard anyway. I'm not too worried about them.
I'm not as loony as Willy, but I drive it harder than you guys.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I have the Lin streamer as Sandeep has. So I think the output volume must be almost the same, right? So when I Q-Boss or Deezer from the Lin into the 50s, yeah, and I turn it up to 70. So you could say 48.
But don't forget, with whether it's the Auralix or the Lin, you're limiting the full scale deflection on the incoming voltage, right? So I think you can select 6 volts, 4.8 volts, right, and 4, right? So so that automatically scales the volume, doesn't it?
So you just got your Lin, didn't you?
Yeah.
I don't have Lin.
You don't, but he just got a Lin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just arrived the other day. It took almost 3 months when I ordered it. I ordered it back in November.
Ooh. Stuff takes time.
Yeah, in Glasgow we have this thing built up, and then shipment across the pond. I have no idea. So, but it arrived, and I have the one with the organic DAC.
The super DAC.
The super duper DAC. And I'm extremely pleased by it. So I have to say.
And you feed your 50s in through XLR.
So no XLR on the 50s.
No XLR.
There's no XLR. There's just ACA. So what I did, I compared. So I had my the core with the optical in, and I had the LIN feed in with the digital in, and as well as with RCA, that comes through the DAC with the organic. So I compared all three of inputs with the same music. So core was just second, thank you, gone. And then I think the biggest debate you have is if you have the DAC inside your streamer, doing the digital sync, put it to analog, get it into the 50, do the digital thing again, and then put it to the speakers. And he said, no, that cannot work out. So go straight digital into the 50s and let the 50s do their thing. And the funny thing is, and Sandeep, I think you experience exactly the same thing with your Catalyst DAC that you have.
Yeah.
There's some magic in this damn LIN box, I have to say. And even with this double conversion between digital and analog, it's so much nicer, I have to say, compared to the pure digital streaming into the 50s. It's so pleased.
I mean, I've never tried the USB. Now, I believe there is volume control with the 90s with USB, but I've heard USBs are a little bit harsh. Very, very digital sort of sound. And I think the coax and the Toslink are, I think their bitrate sampling isn't that great. I'm not sure what your limiter is. If it's 192, it might be less than that. It might only be 96.
Yeah.
So RCA coming in is, I think, is the way to do it.
But you do something similar, don't you? You go XLR out of your.
Correct. Yeah. So when I wanted a new streamer for the 90s, I went purposely for the Auralic Vega DAC, right? And there was a couple of reasons for that. One was I didn't want to rely on the technology of any sort of digital conversion not being compatible with the 90s, which Jeff Martin sort of in one of his papers indicated that could occasionally be a problem, but also because the Beolab 90s weren't fully sorted out software-wise. So the DAC was the safest way to go. And it all works pretty well, especially with those, with the voltage selects and the thresholds. With the exception that you're not using the BO app or the BR1, it's virtually fully integrated.
Yeah, so the volume control.
It's a nightmare.
I don't mind it. It's imperfect. It's imperfect.
What volume control's that?
Well, so if I kick off my stream, my LIN, and start music going, right, and then to volume controller, I can volume. I'm either I have to go open the B&O app or flip this
into sound, yeah, Beosound.
So that aspect is a tiny bit imperfect.
Yeah,
it's not as
well,
but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't really bother me.
In essence,
yeah. Well, that's what I did, right? So get the IRI linked up to your 50s, yeah.
I've got that already.
Get an Essence, link it into IR mode. It works a treat. It works very well. So when you're just listening to music, all right, you've got your app open where you can select whether it's, Cobus, Tidal, or your server or whatever. You just press the picture you want to play. And then you know what it's like, sometimes your music comes off a bit loud, sometimes it's a bit quiet. And you just, in your armchair, you just twiddle that Essence up and down. That's all it does.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that. Maybe I should.
I told you.
Yeah, I know, but I don't listen. I don't always listen, do I?
And it's a lot better than
I think that the Beosound mode's.
It's a pain.
It's a minor pain, but maybe you're right. It's probably easier just having an Essence sitting there.
I even told you, if you're leaning on the couch, just get the wall one where you normally sit anyway. Then you just have to do that on the wall next to you.
And then the other annoying one is you've got the BO app open as well. So you've got your third-party streamer main playing face on there, choosing your music. Then you've got to double click, go into BeoTalk app. Then you've got to like flick down to find the volume, slide into, forget that. Just an essence remote.
I never actually do that. I do this instead. But you're right. Maybe in essence, it's just a lot easier. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah,
yes,
I have all three of them. I have the Halo, I have the BeoBand 1, and I have the Essence remote to control the 50s. So I have them all three, and I have a spare BeoBand remote 1 to control the 50s, as I have the IRI as well. And I found that the Essence remote was not that responsive. I'm not sure if that's wrong with the Essence.
It can lag.
Yeah, so it was a lag, and it was very annoying. So the Halo was the quickest and the best responsive thing in volume control. So the design flaw that Sandeep just mentioned for the 50s is really missing out the Bluetooth capabilities of the 50s. So that you can have it natively built in the remote 1. So also with choosing your different setup for the speaker itself or the input.
Yeah, that would be less laggy, I guess, if it could Bluetooth.
Yeah. The Halo is instant.
It's a what was it? 10 cents additional module somewhere in the 50s for a Bluetooth receiver, something like that.
Evening, Max. 90's chat
complete. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Nick?
Yeah.
We do. Cheers.
I heard you guys talking about volume controls and DACs and stuff like that, and I've got mine sorted out. But I've got a Lumin X1 set up, running USB into the 90's. Pretty damn good. Because the advantage with there's a few advantages with that, but it's got an optical network. So, you've just no network switch, no noise or whatever. Phenomenal difference. I mean, if you're really listening, obviously. But I did have it hooked up to XLR, but the USB on it is just so good that I don't bother anymore. And on the Lumin, you can control by the Lumin remote, the 90's by the Lumin remote, or do it, as you normally would. Because previously, as you guys were saying, you could occasionally turn on and the 90's would go at maximum volume, which fortunately mine's at about 72, I think. But that was a shock because the Windows nearly came out the first time. But now and doing that with the Lumin remote, etc., it's perfect. So it takes all those problems out. But it really runs well off the USB. Surprised me.
That means for you, put full digital transport, right? So from your Lumin, you use the digital signal feeding the 90's, so there's no DAC.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because it goes through the makes a big difference because it goes through the Lumin DAC. And I know that I know what you mean about the digital at the end. I promise you, it makes a difference because when I turn the DAC off, you can really hear the difference. So I don't know how that works internally. And I think it's the same with the Lin. You can really hear the difference in the DAC.
With the DAC on or the DAC off?
With it, well, either. So it's much better when you play it through the Lumin DAC. Makes sense?
Yeah, same as we do with the Lin. So
which I understand you do with the Lin, although I haven't heard that. I understand that that's what happens.
So how can it go through the DAC and then you put it out to USB?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how that is going to work.
How can it go through the DAC and then what's?
You said earlier that you're playing the Lumin through the Beolab 90's via USB.
Yeah.
So if it's going through the Lumin DAC, isn't that already analog before it goes to the 90's?
Probably converts it again.
Whatever the technical bits are, the Lumin DAC is running. It's coming USB, and when I turn it off, it makes it. You can distinctly hear the difference. So
how do you turn it off?
Sorry.
How do you turn it off?
You just turn it off.
Turn what off?
It's
the Lumin DAC. The Lumin. You don't have to use the Lumin DAC. You can bypass it.
So this Lumin X1 looks basically like a billet CNC computer thing, where you just through the app can choose which signal path it takes inside and out.
Yeah, it's they're mean machines.
I must say the price is corresponding to what it looks like. It makes you Ling guys look like sheep.
Yeah, they are.
The only confusing bit to me is USB is digital. So
Yeah.
if you're taking digital out of
That's what I'm
the
saying.
if you're taking digital out of the Lumin, you're not using its DAC.
And that may be, but I'm just saying that switched on or off, it definitely makes a difference. Don't ask me how.
Yeah.
Not that. I just don't understand that. But I've obviously done quite a lot of testing with USB, XLR, whatever, and with the back when I had the 50's, that as well. But what I like about the Lumin is that the technical support, which really runs off of the forums, those guys fix things in real time. So if you want, for instance, if you want FLAC radio stations that they haven't, because they run FLAC radio stations through the XI that you haven't got, those guys go on and get it for you. I mean, it's phenomenal. They've got. They've just done some tweaks to Spotify, the Spotify SK, whatever it is called, that has really improved even the basic Spotify. And I tell you the difference, because I've had Tidal, Amazon, and Cobus at one time. I'm now just running Cobus, but through the Lumin, the basic Spotify is as good as the Cubus now.
Okay.
They tweak their backup is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I also looked into the Lumin when I was in the market for a new streamer and really liked the one. But then the Lin marketing machine kept me like B&O. Right? They're doing a good job there.
Yeah,
so they got me on the hook.
It's all good. It's all good equipment. But I bought a Lumin transport, the basic transport about 3 years ago, and I've just upgraded, each time to that, because it's got everything. It's got the app, which I know that Lumin have got an app, but apparently it's not the greatest user experience. The Lumin app is really, really good.
Yeah. So can I say that?
It's not as good as Rune or Spotify or whatever, but it is a really, really good experience. So anyway, that's just it's different strokes for folks.
I mean, by the looks of it, I'm looking at the spec sheet. I think you can quite literally almost choose your signal path, wherein you put digital in, goes through the DAC, and then redigitize it and have it over USB out.
Yeah, one of the things, once again, one of the reasons why I'm quite hooked on Lumin is that their technical support guy, who does the tour of all the forums. When I was going to upgrade to the X1, I asked him what I had to do, what I had to buy, how it hooked up, how to get the best signal, how to make certain. He went on to the B&O website, downloaded the thing, and he gave me all the settings. I mean, they are really, really cool. Those guys, I tell you, it's phenomenal. So, but anyway, it's great. A great experience, and now everything's run in, because I think it does take quite a lot of time to run in. I'm just so delighted, really, with everything. So anyway, it's me. But I heard you guys talking about it. Oh no, I'm gonna.
I think at the end of the most important thing, right, is what pleases your ear. So not my ear, but what is your ear in your circumstances. So you found your perfect way for you. I'm still on not saying on the run, but still exploring. So I'm not 100% satisfied with my Lin yet. So you're exploring something and it can be better, and then you're in this customer's path.
Yours is new, so you've got, after about 200 or 300 hours or whatever, it should be improved.
Then I have 290 to go.
Yeah, you do that. So anyway, but I was listening also to what you guys were saying about smaller speakers and things like that, and I think you're so right that there's just such a phenomenal market out there of people who, B&O owners who would just want those smaller speakers or whatever to make a multi-room type of, an easier version of the multi-room. And the market, going really up market in terms of clientele, they don't tend to be the type of people who do the do-it-yourself and, mix the old B&Os. But if they were there, I think they'd sell loads of them, but that's just me.
No, I agree with you.
Can I also say something? Sorry, I don't mean to hog this. I've been listening for hours, so I've been stacking things up in my head. The other thing is that the conversation about the high net worth individuals and wanting better or demanding better service. My Harmony stream went dead before Christmas. And I was without it for getting on for 2 weeks. The point being that it went dead, and I expected to wait a few days, and then the engineer phoned and said, well, it could be the power supply, it might not be, but I don't want to call just to find out if it's the power supply, so I'm going to order one. And anyway, that whole process took about 10 days. When I spoke to my dealer, nobody had a loan screen. I mean, not that I'm particularly fussed because I've got other things that I can play, but the point being that nobody had a loan screen. It took about 2 weeks to get then a replacement screen because my dealer actually opened one that he had, a new one, so he loaned me that. But without that, I might have been 3 or 4 weeks, and I can't see that being the type of service, to be honest, that's going to go down that well.
I think what B&O do is the dealer puts in an order for an LG screen. B&O receive it. They get someone then from B&O in Denmark to go onto Amazon Denmark, order the screen. Yep. It gets delivered from Germany or Denmark into Struer. Then it gets put on a boat across to the UK or to the US or whatever. And that's why it takes 3 weeks.
Yeah, and maybe it's just the loan things, but being the, I'm sort of, I'm quite easy like that because I've got other things that I can, watch the sport on or whatever, and I'm really just into the music. But people without TVs generally and no backups in terms of loan screens and things like that, I was thinking, I'm not so certain that high net worth individual is going to necessarily appreciate that lack of service. Because I think
if it's your second home, it's okay, but if it's your primary residence, it's like, fuck off, sell it for a tenner, I don't care, I'm going to spite you and buy something else.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So anyway, I'm with you guys, but no, it's great to see them. Great to see them doing well.
But it's definitely going to be the hard. It's going to be easy. I think they're going to find it not much of a pain in the arse selling 50's and 90's at Ferrari paddocks and things like that. Whatever. I think they won't find that to be a pain in the arse. What they will find a pain in the arse is it's just a very different servicing requirement.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They got no. My dealer on the occasions where things have gone wrong, he can often just talk me through things on the phone and I'll sort it out here. Those guys are not going to do that.
No.
I think we are not the typical B&O customer anyway. So the 5 of us, I think this is not the real world B&O customer.
But yet we are their customers.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not that intended customer, because a lot of those people will be, I haven't got a TV, I want a TV, make it very quick or else type of thing. Yeah, I mean, we've presumably got a different relationship with our dealer. I certainly have, but without that, I might have been without a TV over Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I got into the Kaleidescape platform when I got the theatre.
Right.
I did a bit of research as to either to buy a new piece of gear, and the dealer I was talking to says, well, I've got this, it's still got a 3-year warranty on it out of 5. But how about this? And it offered a good price. I said, yeah, okay. So you looked at the balance of it, or what it's going to cost to buy the new player and the whatever terabyte server you want, and straight off, that's in the UK, and bear in mind it's about 50% more than it is in the US. That's 14 or 15 grand. So that's a pretty big chunk of cash. Buy a second-hand unit of the previous model, a lot cheaper, but still not cheap. Now, what Kaleidescape say is, if any piece of their kit fails, they'll have a return unit, and if it's a server, they'll have the server back to you within 48 hours with all your films loaded up.
Yeah. And I think Kaleidescape, they are targeting the customers B&O wants to target,
which are the super yacht owners, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And unfortunately, I don't have a super yacht, just a kind of a small little boat. But I'm in the Kaleidescape market for, I would say.
But is it manual or is it?
I never have a full plug. And my challenge is that they're not selling in Germany anymore, because they don't have the license for their movie store for Germany. So
there's a way around.
Yeah, I know you have this. Yeah. But you cannot buy it in Germany. It's not possible.
But that's what they've got to do. They've something fails, and it's got to be within a reasonable time, right?
Yeah, and that would be my challenge with Kaleidescape. If I go, for example, I purchase from the UK, so I do not get the service because I purchased it from a country where they do not business anymore. So you're not getting this service. So I explored that. So unfortunately, the last dealer shut down as last year, because there's no way that you can feed the system anymore with content, except the way around. I know which way it is, but at least it is not official. And I would love to have a Kaleidescape system, I can tell you.
Are you happy with yours, Guy? Do you like it?
It's slick. I've still got I haven't got the BO1 connected to it. I've got an IR blaster in there, so it's a plug-in, and I can't find the right driver. It's on the app, but it's not working for that device, and I think it may be a Toshiba, or I may have a dodgy blaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like super slick. You just scroll on the screen. The only thing you've got to be prepared for, especially in the UK, is it's a very, very expensive system, right? So part of the calculations are, how many films are you going to be buying? And you're talking about buying ultra, HDR quality films, with 30 to 50% more bits in it.
Yep.
How many of those are you going to be buying at full price over a period of time?
What are they, like £35 each?
It's probably a private message there that I'm not going to broadcast out. But as I say, there are ways of getting around this. But yeah, you're going to be looking at 20 to 25 quid a pop, right? And then the rigmarole you've got to do to get to this ideal solution is quite a lengthy one, and it's not cheap either. But what you've got to take into account is how many films you buy. So bearing in mind that a 6 terabyte Kaleidescape will hold 100 HDR films, which is your Blu-ray plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're only going to buy 10 films a year, you could be at the prospect that you'd never fill that machine up, and if it fails, you've got a brick. a very expensive brick. Right? If you know, so say you buy something, say, with 88 terabytes in there, but you're only putting in, you know, a few movies a year, and it fails within 5 years, it's going to be a very, very expensive decision. If you get something with a 6 terabyte disk, which is the smallest they do, and you fill that up within 5 years, you're probably getting value out of it. So
Right.
you have to judge how much media you put on there compared to the life cycle of that actual hardware. Now, you'll always have the films. You will always own them, and they're always kept at Kaleidescape headquarters, wherever that is. So even if someone goes and nicks your Kaleidescape, all right, you just send them an email. This machine for this serial number has been.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even have to call. You just go on the app, dial in, and say deactivate this machine wherever it is in the world. Boom, it's deactivated. If you get a new one, you just instantly download everything straight up. And there's other clever things which I've not seen, but some of the older rippers that you can get, and there are a few secondhand on eBay, you can go and put all your DVDs in there, and rather than being junk, a lot of those you can actually upgrade if they're available. So you could get a 5 or 6 quid credit for your old DVD. So once it recognizes the title, it'll say, you've got legal ownership of that, and then you can go to the store and buy the latest HDR version at a discount,
Right.
you know, with 5 or 6 quid off. So it's a lot better than Music Magpie.
So the 4K HDR version of Top Gun Maverick is 20 quid in the UK on Amazon.
And it's probably about 25 quid on. I'll let you know exactly.
Yeah, my use case for Kaleidescape is a little bit different because I'm not too much in movies, but in music. So I really like the Blu-rays, Adele or whatever it is. So I have tons of them. So and I constantly watching them. So a movie usually I watch once, except Goldfinger. I think I watched 25 times in my life. But that's a different story, right?
So you have a Kaleidescape system?
No, unfortunately not. So my dealer has an old system somewhere in the basement. I need to check out what he has. So my use case is a little bit different than what you described because I would have 50 or up to 100 maybe music focused Blu-rays, which I quite often also would like to see and would like to watch. So, however, and I know, and unfortunately, there's no access to the movie store for Kaleidescape to check out if this is available in the music store. But that's the reason why I would love to have a Kaleidescape, because it's so convenient. That's just not to pull out the Blu-ray somewhere. Maybe you open where's the Blu-ray somewhere in another room? Maybe don't know why. So I like the convenience and the quality of the Kaleidescape system. So, and I would love if they go back and do business in Germany again. I would purchase this in a minute, the system. So for me, the entry-level system is good enough. I don't need this high-end
browsing the live in concert Blu-ray 4K DVDs, and apparently they have one in your wheelhouse. It's Britney Spears, Femme Fatale. The missus can dance in the living room with it.
I mean, if you want to get into it, for the Kaleidescape, the cheapest machine on the market right now, the second-hand market, will be what's known as a Strato S. So it's a long, slinky.
Another one, yeah.
Right, and that only went out just maybe less than a year ago. They're on the second-hand market for a 6 terabyte. You're looking at probably about £2,700 to £3,000, and you're looking at about 6,000 to 7,000 for the 12 terabyte.
Yeah.
So in terms of cost per terabyte, you're looking at about 450 to 500 pounds per terabyte. And
expensive, but there's a service attached to it, so I guess.
Oh well, yeah, but when you go to their 88 terabyte unit, that's when you get into the equivalent cost per terabyte. So the next one up to get the Strato C player and the smallest compact server, it's probably a good 70% more now in the UK. It's expensive, and I was debating whether to do it or not, just because if these electronics fail, it's an expensive brick to choke on, right?
Yes, very.
Very.
So you've got to weigh up, the real affordability of this, and it's not affordability in terms of dollars, euros, or pounds. It's crying over your beer because you've just chucked some good money after some rubbish product.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest challenge. So the Strato S would exactly the machine I would need, because 6 terabyte is good enough for my 100 Blu-rays I have. Or I'm going to purchase to the movie store, so that would be perfect for me. And the one that really stops me from buying used is warranty. And as you said, if a machine fails, you got no service on Kaleidescape because you bought it secondhand from another country, and then you have an expensive brick sitting at your corner. So that's exactly my problem I have.
Yeah, I've got a few of those.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, you can have any amount of films. You don't have to have 100 HDR films. You can have the entire library.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they offer the entire library for $90,000.
Oh.
Beolab 90 money, right? And you can only store 100 on your server anytime. So if you say, right, I've seen all these, delete 20 off there, go to bed. Tap on the next 20 you want to bring on, go to bed. You'll have most of them downloaded in the morning.
Not in the US with their internet speed. So many places are still at the 50 Mbit down.
With the latest generation servers, they'll load a full HDR at something stupid. It's like half an hour.
Yeah, but it's not the server. It's literally the internet connection not being fast enough in a lot of the US.
Yeah. On my BeoSystem System 3, I used to have a PUC for Kaleidescape already installed because I was in that market for Kaleidescape. So I asked Leader, put the Kaleidescape thing already on my BeoSystem System 3. But unfortunately, I never pulled the plug finally on that one.
So to summarize for you, Sandy, I think it's borderline whether it's worth it. You've got to choose wisely. As I say, my recommendation would get the outgoing Strato S if you can find them on the second-hand market.
Yeah, for me it'll be a used one. I don't quite watch enough movies to justify new.
But I wouldn't go past that generation. So there are about 2 other iterations before the Strato S. Don't go there.
Okay, they don't have 4K, the older ones.
No.
And there's a nice. You may want to check out the Kaleidescape Owners Forum. It's called Kaleidescape Owners.
Yeah, I'm on there. Yeah.
Me too.
It's about as fast as Beer World is these days.
Yeah.
If you want to do it for 200 quid, set up a Plex server with Infuse and it'll do everything through your Apple TV.
No, that's not Kaleidescape. You're not getting close to it.
I'm not saying it's close, but it's a similar thing, but it's 200 quid.
Is it really that good? Is Kaleidescape really that good? Much better?
Yeah, 2 things. My guy can comment because he owns on that. But I saw is you got the best video and audio quality, which you don't get on streams. No way.
Yeah,
and you have the convenience of usage. This is the 2 things which is what this Kaleidescape is.
So I think I've got about 75 movies on mine now, which you can just straight in there. No trailers, no notices, no adverts, anything else. Just go straight into the opening titles. You can program it to any particular scene you want. So if there's one scene you want to see, you don't have to know the chapter number. You can say, you can bookmark it. Boom, there.
Yeah. Okay. But what about the actual quality, the video quality?
Right. All right. So video-wise, it's hard to judge. You still see grain. It depends on how the film was shot. When you freeze the picture, it's clearly different on a different level. But as a moving picture, you perhaps don't notice it as much. On the sound, it's different league.
That's
Uncompressed sound, different league, providing you've got DTS files, right? Because there are a lot of films. If I look on Kaleidescape right now, I would say 50% of them are Dolby Atmos. There's a few which are DTS. There's one or two DTX. Very, very few DTX. But at the end of the day, you can go and spend top dollar on a film for Kaleidescape, and it's probably no better than a Blu-ray. So you've got to pick wisely.
To put it this way, Max, like a film on Amazon, Disney, or Netflix, if you have their best quality, you're lucky if you get 1.5 gigabytes of audio data. On Kaleidescape, it's probably more like between 10 and 15 gigabytes.
And yet, my video, I'm really sort of happy with playing most stuff through Apple TV. It's the audio that's so bad. Because I've got to buy, but the audio just does not reflect the bloody equipment that I've got. It drives me potty. But
that's the reason. That's the reason some people get Kaleidescape, right? It's the audio, particularly.
Absolutely.
But
that's where they shine. Is just the audio quality.
Fair warning: try it out. Go and find someone who can do it and try it out.
Yeah, 1 second.
I don't need to be tempted.
Well, I'll tell you now, if you've got a theatre, big theatre, you've got Beolab 90's and a Kaleidescape, and you come to some sort of arrangement for your surrounds. It's impressive.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be cool. Yeah.
I mean,
it's an evening for you, I would say.
Sorry?
There was a
expensive evening for you, I would say. So you're getting into the Kaleidescape.
There was a scene on a film I was watching a few weeks ago called Morbius. It's like a sort of vampire sort of theme thing.
Right.
And he's got this, I don't know, vampire sense thing, right? And it's like echolocation, bat-like. And this thing comes out very, very low frequency. I mean, this has got to be down at 20, 30 hertz, and it goes on for about a minute. And you can see bloody vases on your shelves walking across. Very, 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 very impressive sound.
Oh, it's good. Because that's really why I actually did. I don't actually watch a lot of films because I find the sound so disappointing, and especially because I've got them all set up here, but getting them. Oh, whoops! Just hang on.
Well, you can still hear you. It's all right.
Okay, yeah, but getting them. Getting the right degree of surround and stuff. I'm always really disappointed, or I have been up until recently, with the difference between the spoken word and the surround sort of fill-in. And it's been my experience up until relatively recently that when I get the sound of the voice sound right, when the machines etc. come in, they're overpowering, and I used to be constantly on the volume up and down, that control. Having said that, I reset up my Harmony about a month ago with the new configuration round, and it is a lot better than it was previously. But anyway, I
must say, to a large extent, what you're complaining about is in the physical material of newer movies, because so many new movies are so shit on speech, and to the point where I hear people from Hollywood, etc., that are like sort of semi-pros in this business complaining about the audio mixes of voices and that actors are actually slurring their words more than ever before, because it's sort of like they'll fix it in post. Who cares? I'm just here to look pretty.
No, that's true, and that's actually quite relevant because my daughter's a filmmaker. Actually, she was up for a BAFTA this week.
So, congratulations.
She didn't get it, but she made the shortlist.
That's a big achievement.
Yeah, well, she made the long list last year, so she's getting closer. She was saying about what you were saying about mixing and particularly of voices, about how it's actually done quite deliberately. For some people, like if the BBC, for instance, are commissioning you, it's almost done deliberately. Not so for the mainstream films, but yeah, I've noticed that. And you're up and down on the volume control, all the time.
It's bloody awful. Older movies, like probably 2010, are a lot better.
Oh yeah, I mean, I watched Jaws on one of the platforms right, and then I had none of these issues, right, because the balance of like other effects versus speech in the recording was fine, so I didn't have any to bring around to.
But it's the opposite with music, don't you find that? I can't listen to a lot of music I grew up with, because obviously through the 90s and in some degree through the 50s, because the mixing, it's that wall of sound stuff. It just sounds so terrible coming through really good speakers. Don't you find that? Yeah. But you get almost anything mixed nowadays, and it's actually really done well. But I just can't listen to that music. And when I say listen, I mean listen, because I don't do wallpaper music.
I stopped myself from making a joke there.
I actually sit down and sort of listen to music. And it's, I mean, try listening to Beatles stuff. I mean, really, it is wall of sound, and that may have been very clever in its time, but it's got
a lot of the early Beatles stuff is mixed like shit.
It's bad.
It was done on speakers of the era, and you couldn't hear the difference. So they just sort of like, whatever, it's good enough.
And I think that's right. I think that if you've got ordinary, in inverted commas, speakers, and you're just doing ordinary type, wallpaper listening, you're never going to hear the difference. But the critical listening stuff, or when you've really got those good speakers. I mean, I couldn't listen to them very much on the 50s either, to be honest.
No,
it's terrible. It just sounds terrible to me. That's just me.
I definitely agree. Although, I mean, I've got some old vinyl, like some Marvin Gaye records from the 70s, or some jazz from the 70s, and that sounds fine.
And it may be vinyl. I don't do vinyl anymore. I gave that up about 30 odd years ago.
Don't forget,
I'm not going back there.
There's already a 20-year difference in that. Original Beatles versus 70s.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is, as you say, it's the mixing and everything else, because on the 90s, I mean, one of the disappointing things about the 90s is roughly half of my music, which is all either ripped, and there's a good deal of it, you listen to it online, with Cobus,
and
so on and so forth, sounds rubbish.
Yes.
Right, and you listen to on like I mean you guys are probably on the either the Lumin forum or the Lim forum. Well, I'm on the Aralic forum, and you get the clowns on there, and they're talking about audiophile fuses and cables and everything. This ever widening sound stage and blacker than blacks and this cable. I'm thinking, what the hell are you listening to? I can't tell. Right, but I know when I listen to a record, a recording, sorry, not record, which is meh. It's meh.
Yeah, exactly.
But when I put on a good recording, right, it's absolutely 3D, absolutely stellar imaging and really, lively. It a lot of it's the recordings, and I think a lot of it just frankly is crappy speakers.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm a headphone freak, so I do a very serious headphone listening, and because that's a lot easier with headphones, because you've cut out room compensation and you're sort of directly there. You can really hear the bad recording, and that's to a great degree. I agree with you. Exactly the same with the 90s. You can hear bad recordings, and I don't really want to listen to them. But when you get a good one, sorry.
What headphones do you use?
I've got 3 sets. I've got Audi's Carbon, which are electrostatics. I've got Stax, which obviously are electrostatics, and I've got LDC 4s, which are X's. Sorry, not 4s, which are really studio music. They're a bit too sort of thin in terms of revealing for me. But I do a lot of electrostatic listening, and you can just hear absolutely everything. And I agree with you. The bad recordings really stand out, certainly on the 90s anyway.
What do you plug the headphones into? The Lumin?
I've got no. I've got a German valve amp that comes from Malvalve. It's called Malvalve, which is the good thing about the Malvalve is it gives you can run both electrostatics and planars, etc. off of it. So I can switch different headphones through the same, so that's what I run. So the Lumin runs the headphone amp, or the headphone amp runs the Lumin's the source for the headphone amp, and it's also the source for the 90s. I just flip the source over. No problem. I just asked the Lumin to play it via analog, which is the headphone amp, or a digital, which is the USB.
Okay, that's a serious headphone station you've got going.
Do you know how many sets of IEMs I've got?
8.
And the rest. Hang on, I'll give you a quick show. Let's see if you can. This is just a few. Hang on, I've got this.
It's literally hand.
I must be mad. I know I must be mad. That's just I don't know if you can see these. Can you see anything?
Yeah.
You've got the Astle and Kern.
That's just a few of them.
SR25.
Yeah, that's correct. It's SR25, and they're all over the place. Yeah, I know. It's another one of my weaknesses. I can't see it.
Yeah,
I can't see it. Oh, I love them. Yeah, I love them.
But pair them up with a FIFO. This is what B&O need to make. Go back to the A8s again, but something that doesn't stick out like a pencil out of your ear.
Yeah.
These are lovely.
What are they, guys?
The campfire audio with the Andromeda.
Oh, the campfire audios. Okay.
Yeah, and they're really, really comfortable. Well, I mean, it's each their own, right?
Yeah.
What I found with the E8s is that they like stick out of the ear significantly. You're always dropping out, and I can never find tips to go small enough to get right in the ear. Whereas with these, I can get tips that'll go deep inside, and
That's what she said.
Yeah, but it's so tiny, right?
That's what she said.
Hang on, I'll be back in a moment.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than the E8 where she says, "Is that it?" and then it falls out.
What do What do you feed the campfires from? Your iPhone or no? Or whatever.
It depends, but if I'm listening to radio, it's the iPhone. But I've got a SR25. That's the Aston Kern.
Aston Kern, yeah. That's what nice equipment.
Well, you with the Aston Kern, you've got to have it wired because Aston Kern don't do good Bluetooth.
Right.
No, you got to have it wired. Yeah, agreed. I'll tell you the other thing that you may or may not notice if you stream, because I was a beta tester for for at least one of the streaming services, and in fact I was a beta tester for Rune up until about a year ago, and I fell out of love with it for a bit, but I'm back in love with it now. But the difference over the last, I say, probably year in terms of the streaming services is actually quite phenomenal. I would think about 18 months ago, I could easily tell the difference between high res, ultra high res and not. And now with the Connect, you know, the Spotify Connects and the Tidal Connects, etc., I can't hear the difference, even through that headphone equipment, which is really saying something. So something's going on. Something has gone on, definitely, with those streaming services. And I know for a fact that there's one or two of them that are actually tweaking the EQ, which obviously tends to make it sound better to the average person, you know, putting a bit more bass in. But I'm at the stage, it's really through my Lumin. I cannot tell the difference now between Kubas, which has been I've been a big fan of that for about 3 years, and basic Spotify.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
They might finally saw the light and invest in some quality on their side on Spotify.
Yeah, but hang on a bit. The Lumin will be doing some upsampling, won't it?
Yeah.
Well, no. That's without. That's what I thought, because previously I upsampled everything. Saying that the Spotify is basic, but it was just on Lumin, and I hardly used it because Spotify, I think up until say about a year ago, was, you know, it was a bit of a joke. The user interface, fantastic, incredible, but the actual quality
was garbage. It was a joke. Worse than MP3s.
Was a joke. Now, but I've got it on my, you know, I've got it on my thing. And what I would do, I'd always, anything that I was playing off of that, I'd upsample a 512. You know, so it didn't particularly matter to me. I was just listening to everything, and I mean everything, through 512. Relatively recently, I've the Lumin SDK, or whatever you call it, in terms of the tweaks that they've done, that they've been working with Spotify. I turned off all upsampling, and I'm telling you, I can hardly hear any difference at all.
Spotify, at some point, a year or two ago, they announced that they would offer a more than 320k tier, but it was never clear. I'm not a Spotify customer, so it's never clear how they actually, or when they actually did it.
No, they didn't do it. They said they'd do a high. They were planning a high res, but they didn't. That was about a year ago, but they didn't bring out the high res. And you know, it's 44. You know, it's 44.1. No, it's not. Is it? A lot of it's not.
It's 320. 320.
Yeah,
I thought their announcement was not high res, that they were going to offer CD quality.
They were going to offer, well, CD quality or stroke high res, but anyway, they're not doing that now, and they've just laid off about 600 people. So I guess
well, they've got to pay the Sussexes and people like that all these exorbitant bullshit fees.
Yeah. So anyway, but there's definitely something happening on that streaming side for anybody that wants to get into that. Because when people used to say, I can't hear the difference, I used to think, maybe it's your equipment, maybe you're not really listening, maybe, but definitely through the right equipment. I tell you now, and whether it's the streaming has just got better, whether it's the equipment got better, maybe it's an optical network that I've got. Maybe that's made a difference. But you will notice because I didn't like using Roon for a while. It's very much better now, because Roon versus Lumin. Roon was definitely inferior to coming direct off the Lumin. And if you think about the signal path, then you know going direct.
I've heard that Roon
right.
Roon sort of degrades the signal a little bit on a number of.
In comparison, and I bet it would be in comparison with the straight Lin. Having said that, I fell back in love with it only a couple of months ago, because that has definitely improved. And I was a beta tester on their radio as well.
It's a great interface, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, fabulous. Yeah, fabulous. But yeah, it is so. But the best interface apart from Roon is definitely Spotify. So that's come right up in my estimation. And if it carries on like this, I'll probably stop Kubas, because Spotify is so good. So anyway, give the free version a try, and I'd be interested to what you guys think about it.
I heard from another Lumin owner, he exactly said what you said, that the Spotify service improved dramatically with an update that happened recently. So I'm not sure if that's related only to the Lumin, or if Spotify on our Lins will do the same thing. But it was exactly a comment from a Lumin owner who exactly said the same thing.
Yeah. No, the technical side of Lumin, which is it's brilliant. The guy there, a guy called Peter Lai, does that work himself, and took the Lumin, took the Spotify, whatever it's called, SDK, or that twiddly thing there, and has made adjustments. And I, in fact, have been tested that for him as well. Big difference, but it's not apparently, that's through just maybe through the Lumin. I'd be interested if you guys listen to what you think. But
I definitely will give it a try, because I'm still. So I have now Roon subscription, I have a Cubo subscription, I have the Deezer subscription because it pleases the B&O world more.
Oh, Deezer, throw it away. That's awful.
That's too much, I have to say, right? So I just want to have one.
I had 3 at one stage.
Yeah.
It must have been mad.
The Tidal subscription, I just stopped because I don't see any need for Lin, because they don't take advantage of the high-res format of Tidal, so that's gone.
Yeah,
so I still have Deezer, I have Roon, and I have...
Buy a Beosound level every 3 months. You get a free 3-month subscription with every level.
Well, it's even worse than that with Tidal, by the way, through the Lin, because
they don't do MQA.
Tidal doing MQA, I started to notice that they were taken out of their library, the genuine, the non-NQA, replacing it with NQA. So if you didn't like MQA, which I didn't like,
CD quality,
that's what you were getting anyway. But it's not flagged up. So when you go through Lin or anything that's non-NQA on Tidal, you will often get the MQA file, but it's without the MQA, and it's lossless. It's absolutely lossless. It's actually, that's a bit of a con. So it's worse than not being able to play MQA.
Exactly.
A lot of the files
the subscription.
are MQA files downgraded. So people that were really into getting original recordings and things like that started to find out that they were no longer in the library.
Yeah, there was a very good video on YouTube. But was it Gold Note or something like
Gold,
that?
yeah, he's a friend of mine. Yeah, he's really good.
He said MQA is adding in noise for some reason.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. He's the big headphone the big headphone guy as well. Yeah.
The other thing, Tidal have kept their prices quite high. If you pick their higher tiers, whereas Cobars over the last year or two have dropped their prices, right? So Cobar, the higher res tier or whatever it is, their studio is effectively a tenner a month now.
I think I paid more.
They've deflated their prices, and Tidal haven't.
No, I think I paid more than that for it. I think because I'm on Studio or whatever it is, I think mine comes out to about £14 a month a paid year.
When yours auto renews, mine not just auto renewed in January. It'll auto renew at the cheaper price.
All right.
They've reset.
What they've done now is they've just closed this off. But I mean, prior to just before Christmas, I was on Amazon HD, which was okay. It was okay, but the interface was a bit rubbish, and everything was like CD quality. Okay. Anyway, and again, I just picked this up on the forums. The way to do it, and they've just closed this off now, is go and get your 1 month's free subscription from Cobus, right? But you sign up for the 12-month plan, whatever that was. It was $10.99 or whatever you chose.
$10.83.
Right, but once you've got your account and you got that, you get 12 months for free. Sorry, 1 month for free, and then it pay 129 quid, I think it was, for the rest of the year. You could go onto their website, buy a 1 year subscription for, I think it was £95. Post it to yourself, and then once your 1 month trial subscription is up, pay for the next 12 months with that £95 gift token. So you effectively get like three months out of 12 free.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Yeah, Amazon was interesting because Amazon over the last, say, 18 months has really, really improved. So I had that started about 3 odd years ago. I had more because the libraries were relatively small back in the day. So if you wanted everything in the library, I actually got more services. But Amazon's improved a lot. The interface is terrible, but they definitely put EQ in. I promise you, they definitely put EQ. Just enough to boost it, which makes people go, "Oh, that sounds really good." But they definitely
with the Auralic system and what they call the Lightning LDS,
right?
You can sign up to a number of streaming subscription services, and it will pull it straight into the app.
Right.
All right. Yep. So it's integrated. I think Lumix will probably do that. I don't know if Name does that or not, or even Lynn. There's the golden opportunity for B&O.
Oh,
why not take their Beo app, all right? Have the ability to pull in a different streaming service other than Deezer or Spotify, pull in the Cobuses, the Tidals, and have the mods.
Great.
Now, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah,
because with LDS, you can have you can have the top hits. You can have it's got a limited amount of function of what LDS, the Auralic LDS does in pulling all the titles in. But you've got to click and click and click and click, and you've got a pretty lame search engine.
They all want money.
Right. Whereas if B&O came up with something like MOTS again, or whatever they put into the moment,
what about a B&O streamer? What about a B&O streamer? Why not?
I don't think it would be as good as the Lumix or the Auralix or the.
No, it possibly wouldn't. But there's lots of people that don't want to spend that money. But if you think about, I mean, for instance, my son and probably my daughter, they don't listen to music like we do. They stream everything anyway, and there isn't really, that having a streamer like. What's the Korean company with those very sexy looking ones at the moment?
Rose something, right?
Yeah.
Rose.
Rose.
Rose, yeah. I mean, that is just a very large mobile phone. It's an Android phone.
Basically, yeah.
It's better quality. It's an Android phone. It's got every streaming service on it. It's just an Android phone. So,
the problem for B&O and the B&O app, they need API access. And I've spoken to people at B&O, and they say people like Tidal and Cobus, they'll want a fee for that. And it gets to the point where the fee is quite high, and they also want to share a bunch of data about customers and that sort of thing. And B&O is not comfortable with doing a lot of that on the data side, but also they're not that happy with the fee, obviously.
And it may be
high net worth individuals.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that may be, and I don't know what the situation is with. I mean, virtually all the streamers now, you go to Spotify, you can go direct to and subscribe via Spotify, Tidal, Cobuz, Amazon. Of course, not Apple Music, because that's they won't share with anybody. But the point being that those streaming products are they're Android phones. That's out market. And I wouldn't have thought that it's a market that's just waiting for somebody. Well, waiting for B&O. If they're not going to build
they're not. It sounds easy in theory, and it's probably not that hard in practice. But there's so many things that get in the way. Whether it's the fees, because some of the hardware, the Auralix can make their streaming app, their platform, the Lightning thing is supposed to be very good.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good, yeah. And the Lin one is pretty basic. So hardware makers land in different places. Some of them put the effort in, like Auralix do. Their Lightning DS is supposed to be very good, but others don't. B&O are just not going to do it.
No, and they might not. I'm not saying they do, but I'm just saying that if you were talking earlier about the market and what people are buying, at some level, B&O should be looking to get the market is my kids, for instance, and my kids aren't buying speakers from B&O because they're streaming, and they haven't actually got a B&O product that would really apply to them. Maybe now, with the with the new thing, but anyway, that's
surely in their mind the same argument for not having potentially wall-mounted / ceiling speakers applies to this whole segment. It's too complicated. Our people just want it to work, and it's just one thing, and it's good enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the way they think about it.
Yeah,
so
I think they're wrong, but that's another thing.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're aware that there's 5 of us here, and 4 of us have got expensive streaming equipment, third-party equipment. I'm pretty sure they're aware that they're happy to sell you and me, and each of us like 50 grand speakers, but they probably lost 40 grand's worth of streaming equipment. Yeah.
Plus.
But they probably, I think they're probably aware of it, but I think they don't care.
No, I don't think it's that. What I was going to say was, if you look at the Beolab 90's, you've got the 50's, probably you don't need them with the 28's. I tell you what they are doing is they're definitely making third-party equipment far more integratable into their speaker systems
Agreed. Completely agree.
than they ever used to be, right?
Definitely.
You know, and as I say, you know, with my Auralic and the LDS, it's not quite. It's not like the old Master Links where you'd press CD, your TV would switch off, and then you'd press video, with your video player, and then your CD would switch off, and your TV would come on, and you'd see your VHS video.
But it's not far.
But it's not that far away, right? And but the quality of bringing it all together, so if you look at what they do have right now, you've got some very, very good top end speakers. You've got a very good TV device. I can't speak about the Harmony. The Eclipse is my least impressive B&O TV I've had in a long time. But the theatre's all there. They've coupled up that third-party screen with LG into a soundbar, and then you can bring in third-party streamers, clocks, upsamplers, DACs, whatever, and with the apps and everything, it almost integrates as good as traditional B&O.
Yeah, agreed. That's why those 50s and 90s with all the connectivity options and the near perfect
made a huge difference.
It makes a big difference.
I wouldn't have bought them. Never, ever. If they have not that connectivity options, I would never have.
Exactly.
Gone with the 50s.
Yeah. So I think they think for people like us, we're well catered for in the way that everything's special at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what's 99% of all those who can afford high-level streamers going to do? Will they entertain a B&O? I mean, I really want a high-end streamer, but where would we really spend our 10, 20, 30K on? Would we plow that into B&O, or would we go third party?
I go back to my dealer with all these fancy brands, as you all know. So they have Lumin, they have Lin, they have Burmester, so they have them all, and B&O. Yep. And I think I'm, again, the only customer with the 10 shops they have who has a dedicated third-party streamer with their high-end B&O loudspeakers. And no, that's wrong. There's one guy with the 90's who's also a geek like we are. So the rest of I think they do not even care. They buy it for the looks and for to being in this simple, having this nice type of furniture type of thing. So would they sell a streamer if they buy an audio device, whatever that will be, for 10 grand? I would say yes. But if you buy a pair of speakers for 50,000 euros, like the Beolab 50R these days, you have deep pockets enough. If this is a fancy something, whatever, just take a look at the Beosound 9000 when it was new. What is it, 2003, 2 or whatever? It was still a 3,000, 4,000 euro at the end device. I think 3,600 was the last price of it. So you were already in that range. Now, 20 years move forward, you are in a 10,000 euro range. So the market is definitely there if you have the right thing, the right box or whatever it is, or turntable, whatever. I think they will sell it.
Apparently, they can sell these 10 to 15,000 euro turntables like nobody's business.
They all sell out. They sell out quickly, don't they?
Yeah, I knew that.
And they're so busy with the refurbishment kits that start at $5,000 that they can't handle it all. And they have to outsource it to specialists.
Yeah, here we go.
It's really, I know.
I mean, they were up to, a 9-month waiting period.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So what's this chatter about a new Beolab? I don't quite believe it. Partly because I haven't heard it. But what's this?
Why should you go with another Beolab?
No. I briefly heard some chat. I don't know where, but this might be just echoing around here that there was something between the 50s and the 28s. Well, I find that
I can't see that.
I'll see that.
I can see
I mean, if they're going to do if they're going to do a Beolab, take the balance and make it plug-inable, with RJ45s.
It must be a different concept. So let's say, put it this way, a typical loudspeaker that everybody has on his mind would not be the B&O solution to fit the gap between the 28 and the 50. It must be something different, a different concept, a different idea, whatever it is. But a kind of a classic loudspeaker, that would be not B&O to release. But must be something different, whatever it is, maybe.
I haven't heard anything. The only thing that I've been told, however true it is that there will be a new Harmony at the end of the year.
Yeah, 97-inch.
With upfiring.
No, there's no place for upfiring in a Harmony. Unless they totally redesign it, but
I'm told that it is that they're doing it. They're doing it in the anyway. That's just we all talk to dealers, but my guy's been around a long time, and that's what he says. So he could be wrong, but that's what he told me. So
they could do it. They could do it if they put like a Beolab fit. Was it Beolab 16? So as it swings down, these two little coats.
I don't. No, I love the theatre, but I don't want a big black screen. I just love the fact that the screen's hidden with the Harmony. So that's going to suit me.
Again, for practical reasons, this is why I switched, because I'm moving over the sea and I can actually carry my theatre like this. And a Harmony is like
fantastic, yeah,
on a bloody pallet.
I love it. Yeah.
I was close to swap my Harmony for a theatre, but then I said no at the end of the day, because it's just when you sit there and the magic happens. And the 77-inch is already a lot of black real estate you have in your living room. So I said, no, for that little bit better sound, no, I'm not going to do that. But I like the idea what could be the next version of Harmony. I think they have to do something. And that needs to be on Mozart. They cannot continue with the old platform. So the A9 is just around the corner with the Mozart platform. And I think they need to switch. The question is, will they redesign the Harmony to, as you said, to put in a different set of loudspeakers? But the question that comes to my head would be the target audience for a Harmony really looking forward to have a standalone system like a Harmony and will not pair this up with two front speakers.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I'd do it in a heartbeat. I think that, but who knows? Yeah, I would. If
I could easier see a sort of Mark II that is updated for the newer Atmos codecs and stuff like that. Then I could see them keeping the chassis as is with somehow upfiring in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think upfiring, it can be done, but it's inviting a world of pain.
Yeah. And for me, it doesn't make too much sense. So I had the theater at home to test it. And for me, it was always that it's nice. It's a great product. But if you pair it with the 50's in the front and all the other loudspeakers, it's a different league. So even the theater does a great job as a center speaker. No doubt about it. Really, fantastic job. But I don't need this up-firing, left-firing, something.
Yeah. It goes back to the previous comments on the streamers and the B&O streamer, the connectivity. I can't think of a product where once the design comes out, it virtually doesn't change. It may get bigger. So, TV screens can go from 42-inch to 46 to, 65, 70, and so on and so forth. But I don't think there would ever be anything like a Harmony that would do something mechanically or whatever different than what the Harmony does now. I can certainly see one being bigger, but it wouldn't be a, like I said, maybe it's got tippy speakers. That I think they would call that a different name.
Yes.
It may have conceptually the same sort of unfolding or multiple unfoldings, but it wouldn't be a Harmony.
Yeah.
It's like Beer Center 2. Beer Center 2 came out with DVD, and there were cries to make it a Blu-ray, but they wouldn't make it a Blu-ray, even though they could have probably sold a shed load of them.
Yeah. I think the only
when I asked Willie,
product
the problem was the speed of the
went
disc.
through updates was the A9. I think that's the only product I have in mind in the moment. Really had a couple of updates from the MK1 to now the 4, and now the Mozart is coming.
But physically on the outside, it hasn't changed.
They have to update that, and they sell too many A9s.
Yeah. So with the Beosound 9000, for example, so they never changed it dramatically. So there was never a digital radio something in it or whatever. Never did it. The Beocenter 2, same. So the A9 is really the only one I have in mind that really updated.
Well, as I said, you can see it in their investor calls if you go through the listens, that they still sell quite a lot of them.
It's a great thing. I would love to have one. So, but I have no place to put it.
Same. I need to move first before I can get one.
There's no room I could put it. There's all B&O already in every room.
So mine has gone now, from my bedroom, and I'm now listening to music on the theatre in the bedroom.
No longer at 2:30 in the morning?
No, that's all fixed.
What's it like for music?
For my bed, it's very different. And this sounds trite. It's very different to the A9, and it's taken some getting used to. Because the A9 had a lovely. I'm reducing its simplicities here. The A9 had a more of a traditional, flatter sound, right?
Yeah, sheen, didn't it?
Melatonin.
But it had a very lovely unity of sound, right?
Yeah.
For a 1-point system, and I didn't really have any complaints. It had a nice warmth to it. The theatre with music tried to create some 3D stage, so you kind of got voices here and instruments here, and it can be nice. I do. If I could flick it to A9 mode, I would, in a theoretical world.
Can't you turn a lot of that off?
Yeah, just do a listening position.
Yeah, under the music tab, I think, and then.
So one of the things I've done. You've got your Beolab setups, Beolab 90 setups. So as part of your 5.2.4, and the speaker does pretty much default settings. I have brought the center forward a little bit just to get that speech that we were talking about on movies a little bit better. But when I'm watching, say, TV, Freeview, or even some of the streaming services, I'll just have the center on sometimes if I think it's not worth making more noise with the 90s. Just give them the afternoon off or something. What I found there is, you knock off the side firing and the upward firing, and then, just, as you say, just make everything all left, right, and center, or all center. You can flick around with that. So if you want to have a music mode for your bedroom, play around with all those channels, get rid of the side firings as a listening position, and you can just say music, boom.
Yeah, I made
it'll come up and work in a more traditional way. I'm pretty certain of that.
Yes, I'm sure I can get a bit better. So in the bedroom, I've only got the theatre. Everything else is gone.
Yeah.
Bedroom, theatre. So and then when I play music, it plays it in the music sound mode. But I take your point. I could get a listening position and turn off some of the side firings.
But the music mode is a EQ adjustment.
Yeah.
Right. So it tends to play things flat, whereas movies
are not.
have probably lower mids and more or low end and stuff like that. So what you want to do is actually tell it not to be a sound bar in a DTS system, but to be a music Beosound, and get rid of the side and the up-firing speakers.
Yeah, I'll have to play around.
And so just play stereo music with a subwoofer in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't regret getting rid of the A9 just because of space. It's got some space, floor space back, because it takes up a bit of space. But the A9, it just still sounds very lovely.
I agree.
So I'm not surprised. It's interesting, where is it 10 years?
Yeah, more than now.
And still selling pretty damn well. That's quite impressive.
It's pretty much a design icon.
Well, that's my point. For a night, a design icon, right?
So, gentlemen, I would say
I'm almost out of battery as well, so I'm gonna
YouTube, Twitch. Goodbye. I'm gonna end those streams now.